Good afternoon. Welcome to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. It is Friday, August 8th. Happy Friday to you. We're looking live, of course, outside of the West Wing of the White House there. President Trump meeting two world leaders today. These two countries border each other, Armenia and Azerbaijan. Both world leaders will be meeting the president today. So it's going to be similar to when one world leader shows up, the president will greet that world leader, then that world leader and the president will go and meet in the Oval Office. And then after that meeting, the other world leader will show up. So the first one is from Armenia, the second one is Azerbaijan, and then the three will actually have a trilateral signing at the end of the day here. This is all in regards to things like peace between the two countries as well. That, according to Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who was just on an interview with EWTN, talking about that. So quite the day of global events here. And then, of course, the president always talks about domestic issues as well, because the reporters ask him about it after the various meetings. There's always that Q&A time there with the reporter. So we'll be monitoring all of that here at the network. Thanks again for watching all week. A lot of coverage this week, a lot of news going on. And we're looking at all of it with you. Next week, of course, Robert McNeely will be back here in studio as well, as he was away for about a week, enjoying a time there. So looking forward to that. And I'll be on the desk as well at different times next week. So looking forward to a great weekend. Hopefully it's a slow news weekend in the sense of no breaking news, nothing crazy going on. But I wouldn't be upset if I ever had to come in on a weekend where there was a report about an indictment for someone that may have broken the law in the past when it comes to maybe Russia, you know, that kind of thing. So anyway, we're monitoring all those kind of stories here at the network. So the first up right now at 2:30 Eastern, and it may happen a little bit earlier now that the guards are standing there outside the White House, but on the public schedule, the president greets Prime Minister of the Republic of Armenia, Nikol Pashinyan. That is the first person that he'll meet with. He'll then meet with the world leader in the Oval Office, as I mentioned. After that, the president will participate in a bilateral signing with that Prime Minister of Armenia. Then at about 3:10 Eastern, the president will then greet the president of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev. The two world leaders will also have a meeting in the Oval Office with that bilateral signing to follow. And then around 4:15 this afternoon, the president will participate in a trilateral signing with the Prime Minister of Armenia and the President of Azerbaijan inside the state dining room. Now, what exactly they're signing, again, may be a peace deal between the two countries. That, according to, once again, the Secretary of State Marco Rubio, in that recent interview with EWTN. Geographically speaking, Armenia and Azerbaijan border each other, and the two countries also border a number of other countries, including Iran. Armenia is home to about 3 million people. Azerbaijan is home to about 10 million people. So we have a few live interviews, actually one scheduled right now, as we'll be going back and forth between here at our headquarters in Alabama to Washington, D.C. and back as we cover the president today on this Friday, a very busy Friday for the White House. Sometimes on a Friday, not so busy. Still, though, President Trump always working hard, of course, with the team there. And then even into the weekend, you know, it's more like a working, weekend that happens with the president. And that's just the way it is. That comes with the territory, of course. And in the meantime, let's do this. Let's go to a number of videos that we've seen out there, all social media videos, all from mainly the United States government when it comes to just the updates on various things. We do want to start with one update here. And as we do interviews and as we throw to videos throughout the course of the next couple hours here, anytime we see the president, we're going to cut directly to that. And so you can see the president there meeting each of the world leaders, and also, of course, the Oval Office, time that the two leaders have. Will there be a Q&A session ×2 today, or even ×3 when it comes to the Oval Office? Because the president's meeting two world leaders at separate times, even though right back to back. But we're going to see the president there with the world leader of Armenia first, then with Azerbaijan second. And usually after those meetings, it's as that Q&A. And then there's again, that trilateral signing between all three of them. So will there be questions and answers after that too? So who knows? We'll be here for it. I'm glad you are too. It is now 2:05 Eastern, Friday, August 6th. Actually, August 8th. That number is really small, or I have to get some contacts. Anyway, the HUD update, Housing and Urban Development, from Secretary Scott Turner. Rock star this guy is, right? He's awesome. Let's go to that video for an update from Scott Turner.
It really honors me to stand before you today to serve as your new HUD secretary. We have a housing crisis, a housing affordability crisis. We have to find long-term solutions. We are going after AFFH to restore the flexibility, the rulemaking authority back to localities. Here at HUD, our heart is for the American people. Our mission is to help the American people. $89 billion have been invested in opportunity zones, 1 million people lifted out of poverty.
One thing that's been encouraging to me is to see the resolve of the people. And I want to encourage everyone to hold on to that resolve and be unified together and working together.
The First Lady and her team and our team here at HUD have partnered to provide $25 million to the Foster Youth Independence Initiative. We're going to achieve great things at HUD. And y'all, I'm looking forward to great days ahead. Now let's go to work.
All right, that from Scott Turner from just recently on the 24/7 news cycle. We're going to get to a couple of our great sponsors here in just 1 second. Before we do, of course, we're going to go through a number of videos as we get ready to see the president and the two world leaders throughout the day here. And then once that all wraps up, it doesn't say on the president's schedule if he was going to Bedminster, New Jersey or down to Mar-a-Lago. As of right now, it looks like he may be at the White House this weekend. So that looks like that will be the way it is coming up. So before we get to those sponsors, let's do this quickly here. Let's take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
All right, welcome back here to Right Side Broadcasting Network. I'm about ready to get to our sponsors in just a second. After this video, the video is from the Environmental Protection Agency. The administrator, Lee Zeldin, just wrapped up a 7-state EPA swing. Here's an update from the administrator about a few programs they actually recently cut, saving taxpayers $7 billion.
Hi, EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin here. The Trump EPA is proudly committed to fully following the law and being a great steward of your taxpayer dollars. Since being signed into law on Independence Day, EPA has been diligently working to implement President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill in accordance with congressional intent. The new law eliminates billions of green slush fund dollars by repealing the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, including a $7 billion program called Solar for All. One of the more shocking features of Solar for All was with regards to the massive dilution of the money, as many grants go through pass-through after pass-through after pass-through after pass-through, with all of the middlemen taking their own cut at least 15% by conservative estimates. What a grift. Furthermore, the Biden-Harris administration exempted this program from the Build America, Buy America law that requires federal agencies to use American workers, American products, and American infrastructure for projects using American taxpayer dollars. That's great news for China, not so much for the USA. Lastly, while this program was stood up in 2024, very little money has actually been spent. Recipients are still very much in the early planning phase, not the building and construction process. But the bottom line again is this: EPA no longer has the authority to administer the program or the appropriated funds to keep this boondoggle alive. With clear language and intent from Congress in the One Big Beautiful Bill, EPA is taking action to end this program for good. We are committed to the rule of law and being a good steward of taxpayer dollars. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
All right, that video from Lee Zeldin just recently as we are looking live outside the West Wing. Looks like a sunny day there in Washington, D.C., our nation's capital. Again, thank you guys so much for watching right now. Those of you on Rumble and YouTube and X and our app and Truth Plus and all the places you're watching out there, thank you so much for doing so on this Friday, August 8th. All of it brought to you by some great sponsors, including All Family Pharmacy. The fight for medical freedom is real, and All Family Pharmacy is doing something about it. They actually just lowered prices by up to 25% on ivermectin and mebendazole, making these medications easier and more affordable for families across America to stay prepared. So you don't need to wait in a doctor's office or deal with insurance. All Family Pharmacy, they actually work with licensed doctors who review your request online, write the prescription, and then they ship quickly to your door. You get all the medications you need without the hassle, gatekeeping, or inflated costs. Check them out and get what you need. They have over 200 medications available, all from a pharmacy that's on your side. Again, that's allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use that RSBN 10 promo code to get an extra 10% off. Again, that's allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. All right, let's go to callshe.com as well, /RSBN. Of course, if you like to buy or trade or bet on various polls there, you can do so at callshe.com. A lot of great topics there for you to choose from as well. There's more than 100 million users just on Callshe. So it's callshe.com/RSBN, or you can use that QR code right there. You can also download the app and just bet away, trade away if you want. And also you can check out some polls, all sorts of topics to choose from there. So great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. All right, so it's 2:13. Friday, August 8th. Let's get back into some more of the news stories as we continue to cover the 24/7 news cycle out there. Specifically, let's talk about the fact that the Environmental Protection Agency, as you just saw, we received that update that the EPA is talking about the fact that they just cut a few programs that is saving taxpayers $7 billion. But now let's go over to the Secretary of Labor, Lori Chavez-DeRemer. She's on the road checking out how.
It's Lori here. I'm here in Kenmore, Wyoming to talk about coal mining. Thank you, Mr. President, for the 200 days of hard work that you've put in office and allowing us the latitude to get out and see America as we should to grow this economy. I'm on my 50-state tour for the Department of Labor. This is the 23rd state, and I couldn't be more honored to be here with the hard-working men and women of this country. So we're going to stay at it. We've got 27 states to go. Thank you again for the 200 days. We're here to celebrate the American worker.
Okay, so they're in the state of Wyoming and then recently in Idaho. So it's pretty cool to see just our cabinet members just all over the country right now. Again, the EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin just ended a 7-state tour. So a lot going on out there. Meantime, let's talk about the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, on an X post. He said at State Department and at the Justice Department are increasing the reward for the arrest of dictator Nicolas Maduro to $50 million for violating U.S. narcotics laws. Maduro is the head of the vicious Cartel de los Soles, a narco-terror organization which has taken over Venezuela. Maduro must be brought to justice, end quote, from the Secretary of State. Then you see the reward increase of up to $50 million for information leading to the arrest and or conviction of the leader of the specially designated global terrorist cartel de los Soles. Again, Mr. Maduro right there. Specifically, you know, when it comes to these kind of things, we're seeing that Nicolas Maduro has been doing this for years. And so now the U.S. government taking some more action there. Meantime, speaking of military and just all sorts of things when it comes to, you know, staying strong in this country, the U.S. Central Command has a new video out there. Just a fun video to show as we're just going through a number of the social media videos that we've seen out there on X and on Truth. And also, of course, we talk about the various news topics here at the network as we kind of monitor all of the news, but also as we go there live in just a bit when we see the President of the United States and then the Prime Minister of Armenia. So we'll be going there soon. In the meantime, this U.S. Central Command CENTCOM video shows a U.S. Air Force A-10 Thunderbolt seconds signal a thank you to a KC-135 Stratotanker. This is all this military stuff, man. A Stratotanker, that's awesome. Let's just check this video out. It's all about after receiving fuel during a combat patrol over the U.S. Central Command area of responsibility. Take a look. All right, so cool stuff there as we get ready to go to our first live interview of the broadcast today. We're just getting warmed up here at Right Side. As you've seen throughout the week, it's been 1, 2, 3 hour broadcasts here as we just cover what's going on there in Washington, D.C. and bring on some great guests, including the Media Research Center Senior Research Analyst, Bill D'Agostino. Sorry about butchering the last name there, but it's the way it goes sometimes, man. Thanks so much, Bill, for showing up here on Right Side.
No worries, man. And yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
How do you pronounce your last name again?
Oh, it's D'Agostino.
D'Agostino. There you go. I should have.
Yeah, we Italians like our apostrophes and whatnot. So
hey,
yeah, we don't make it easy.
It's all good, all good. And I actually asked some of your staff. I said, "How do you say that again?" And they actually typed it on email, and I still butchered that thing, man. But hey, Bill, thanks again though for joining us. So tell us about what you do there at the Media Research Center.
Yeah. So primarily my focus is on both compilations and data. So I spend a lot of time pouring through Nexus transcripts, Snapstream recordings, etc., looking for patterns in what the corporate media specifically, usually just television, are how they're reporting, right? What they're omitting, what they're overemphasizing, what kind of context they're deliberately leaving out. And most of our work product is kind of boiled down into bite-sized statistics that you can hear quoted any number of places. So it's mostly data-driven, most of the work that I do.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So can you talk to us about some specifics on some of the different things you've worked on recently that would maybe surprise some of the people that are watching?
Absolutely, yeah. Although, depending, I don't know, I think you've got a pretty aware audience of just how bad the media are. So I don't think anything will surprise them, but certainly will confirm their biases. I've got a study that just came out yesterday. I took a look at cable news, CNN and MSNBC, how they were handling the Texas redistricting in terms of what sort of guests they're having on. In 6 days, CNN and MSNBC had 45 Texas Democrats on and 2 Texas Republicans, and you can probably guess that the tone of the interview varied pretty heavily depending on the partisan affiliation of the guest. So that's one example. Pretty clear cut case of just heavy favoritism, right? I mean, they're basically the DNC press shop at this point. So
right. So here's the question though: if someone was looking right down the middle and say they didn't have a bias, which I don't think that's possible, really.
Right.
Is it possible?
I would agree.
I mean, we all have. All right. So then from there, usually you would leave your bias at the door, but when you're in conservative media, and like here at Right Side and these other networks out there and all these people talking, they're talking about truth and common sense and what is needed to keep America safe and what we need to keep our country saved for the future, all that stuff. So we got to focus in on that, because we would come off as biased as well on the right wing. But what we're talking about, though, is common sense truth, though. So how do we really... And I know that there wasn't a question that we prepped or anything, but how do we look at it? Because you're saying, hey, these guys are biased with their left leanings. They're always putting on these leftists on. Well, here at Right Side, we put a lot of right-leaning people on. We really don't put many leftists on. Maybe we should, and it'll be just a big argument back and forth, but we just want to stay with what the people want, and they just want freedom. So, you know what I mean? They just don't say freedom type of things on the left.
Well, I think that in the same way that nobody should accuse Right Side of not like routinely having Democrats on, there are very big left-wing shows that basically only exist on the left, right? And they're open about it, right? It's about being open about your agenda, and also not letting your biases cause any kind of impropriety as far as journalism or whatever else you're doing. So, for example, if I'm doing a study, right, like I am incentivized to demonstrate the media's bias, and so theoretically, the more astounding the number, whatever piece of data I'm putting out, the better it might do, right? But if I'm researching something that I think seems like a media trend and the numbers really aren't bearing that out, I can't just fudge the numbers, right? I can't let my biases against the media kind of cause me to slice off an entire portion of the data set and say, well, that doesn't really count, right? I think that's really where the issue comes in. So you're saying, as long as you're open.
So you're saying.
No, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. I like having this discussion, because what you guys do at Media Research Center, at Newsbusters and the like, you really focus in on this bias when it comes to the liberal media. So it's great to talk about this specifically. So are you saying that, say with the Russia hoax, the evidence and the receipts that Tulsi Gabbard has and is given to the DOJ, they just opened up an investigation, right? So without a bias, you should be able to report the facts that the government's saying there, but then it's still difficult, because if the government is saying something true and we see it as we the people that is exactly what happened, then and if we are biased on the right side of history, then aren't we going to say that is the truth there? And then I guess the leftists will just say, nope, that's not true, and then they'll have their bias. It's a weird time right now. You know, it's not the days of just 2 + 2 = 4 when it comes to certain stories. It is that, but then what's the bias after the report says it's 4? How does the right wing interpret that 4, and how does the left wing interpret that 4? Do you follow what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And then what do you do with the New York Times piece that comes out the next day that says the report finds that 2 + 2 = 5, right? And people just see that headline and they absorb that, and they don't read the actual Times piece that admits in paragraph 20 that, okay, it said 4, but they meant 5 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I think that we are in a very unique time right now, because politics is no longer two sides agreeing on, like, this X is a problem, right? Or Y is a problem, Z is a problem, and disagreeing on how to solve it. It's a fundamental disagreement about reality and about what problems even face America, right? Or should we even be worried about the problems facing America versus the problems facing somewhere else, right? I mean, there are a lot of people on the left, I would argue, that prioritize the rest of the world before America. So yeah, I mean, it's we're not really doing like standard peacetime politics anymore. We're doing like very kind of like Cold War conflict politics, and it's causing a lot of communication to break down between the two sides.
Right, and the thing is that's what's, I think that the people have woken up and they're saying, okay, well, does this how does this make me think and feel? What's my reaction to this? Is it a common sense, person that's delivering the news? Do they, in their opinion, editorial? Is it something that I believe in or I resonate with? Is it about God, family, country? Is it about the United States Constitution? When we always keep it and bring it back to those truths of why we're here on earth and what we as a people should have, freedom, if it supports that, then that's what we want to be on that side of history when it comes to, I guess, where people choose between conservative media versus the liberal media, because it's very interesting, this whole bias thing. Again, because obviously here at Right Side, and me personally, and I know Robert McNeely's on here too, and others, and we also share our opinion and our editorial. We also share facts, but aren't they all the same in the sense of, hey, this country is all about God, family, country. We want the Constitution to be the law of the land. You see what I'm saying? Like, that is my personal bias, but that is also factual. So how do you separate that? I don't know. These are just literal thoughts that I have right now about it.
I mean, I think that the best way to do it is to be upfront about what premises you're starting from. And I think those are probably the correct premises for anybody to be starting from if they're in media, right? Is like if what you're doing is in service of God, family, and country, then that's a pretty good starting point, right? And any disagreement that ensues, like as long as both sides agree on those premises, any disagreement that ensues can probably be civil and can probably be hashed out by something like debate, right? But we find that that's not really the case with a lot of corporate media, right? Is that they're not starting from those same premises, and they're also not upfront about what premises they are starting from, and the fact that they do have an agenda, right? I mean, so if CNN called itself left side news, we would mostly leave them alone. Let's put it that way. But the fact that instead they're airing these pretentious Apple commercials, right? The Apple sitting against the white background, they say this is not a banana, and then it says facts first, and it's like, okay, well, was Hunter Biden's laptop a banana or an apple? CNN, right? Like was the Russia investigation an apple or a banana?
I really like your point about that specifically right there. And again, this is I like common sense conversations. I think that's really the best way to do it. Sometimes the simplest thing is the most profound thing. And I like what you said there. You're right. This is Right Side Broadcasting Network. You already know we're not Left Side Broadcasting Network, thank God. And so CNN coming across, or MSNBC, or any of these alphabet networks, they come across as, we are unbiased, this is the news today, and then they lie through, right? At least here we're like, hey, we are patriotic people. We love we the people, and President Trump supports that. We support President Trump. But outside of that, though, if there was something that was done, right, that is not true in the sense of maybe something happened, but say somebody in the right wing did something, X, Y, and Z, we're not going to keep just being loyal to that if it's wrong.
Right.
We still stick with the truth, though, right?
Yeah, and I think that's the ultimate good to be pursuing, other than, I mean, obviously any morality that's not ordained by a higher power is kind of by definition subjective, but that's more philosophy. But as far as like worldly things to be in service of, I think that like objective truth is probably the most noble, right? Because something can never be truly wrong if it's correct. I think that there's ways to misinterpret the truth and to make bad conclusions from the truth. But as long as you are presenting, at least as far as your flawed human understanding of the facts is, what you perceive to be objectively true, then you're much less likely to stray. And I suspect that there are a lot of people who work in corporate media who occasionally have nagging doubts about, like, why aren't we covering this thing that everybody on the other side is talking about? Why aren't we covering that at all, right? And there's probably little justifications that they offer themselves in their heads for why that is, but it's about not. I think that if you have too many of those nagging doubts, you're probably not working in service of the truth anymore. You're probably working in service of some kind of agenda or narrative.
Exactly. So we're looking for a free, fair, honest press, and also, being able to trust that news organization or that personality that's on camera, and that's it, and we just keep on going, and so Can you tell us a little bit about your career before you were there at Media Research Center? Tell us about any TV or news or any kind of media political experience you had, and then how you got there to MRC.
I mean, this is my first like real long-term job, to be honest. I left college as a sophomore because I was doing I didn't really know what I was doing. I was majoring in like neuroscience, and I like neuroscience, but I didn't want to work in a lab for the rest of my life. And when I came back to college 3 years later to finish a degree, everything had gone insane. It was right about when all of the Marxism was really springing forth on campuses. Like Mike Brown happened around that time, and college sort of radicalized me towards the right. I wasn't overly political before then. And so I basically right after graduating just moved down to DC, and I interned for a senator for a bit who is now in the president's cabinet, and I applied to as many conservative outlets as I could and ended up here. But I think that in becoming like a very politically minded person, the media were always sort of like a big thorn in my side. It was always something that was nagging at me, because they were at the time, at least, just this wall, this impenetrable wall that was able to completely control the narrative, right? I mean, they had so much more gatekeeping power for information than they do today. And it was an incredibly motivating thing to try to pierce that wall in any way that we could.
Yeah, and I think that's why Rush Limbaugh, because of his, great talent, and then also the content that he really spoke for we the people, because
Right.
there weren't many conservative voices out there over the years. You look 10 years ago, 15 years ago, there's a few, but Rush would lead the way, in my opinion at least. And that's why so many people flocked to him, because they're like, all we get on the left and in mainstream is,
Right.
Let's talk about something else too when it comes to TV. Sometimes I think, and I've said it here on the network before, I think sometimes people just play TV out there because it's just a job, or this is what they do, and they have a commercial to go to or an interview because the producer said this is the interview that's next and this is the angle we're taking and all that stuff, right? Sometimes I've heard some great things from people like Stephen Miller and others from this White House on various networks out there. And then from there, if Stephen makes a great point, sometimes the host will be like, okay, thank you, Stephen, and then they move on to another story. I think here at Right Side and in True Conservative Media, and there at the Media Research Center, we let things breathe and understand that this isn't just, we're not just playing TV. This is not just a job. Thank God for work, right? But this is actually something that's happening for our country that needs that extra attention. So this isn't, again, just playing TV for TV's sake. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that something that's really appealing about Right Side is that you guys do a bit more of the deeper dive, longer form format. And I think that so much that's wrong with the 24-hour news cycle is that it's sort of designed to just like boil things down to bite-sized little, like almost like headline only print consumption. Television, like 24-hour news cycle television like CNN or MSNBC, is basically the TV version of that. It's little bite-sized factoids like primers, 30 seconds onto the next topic, 30 seconds onto the next topic. I mean, 5 minutes is like an eternity in broadcast news time, right? I mean, I think there's only now about 18, 19 minutes of actual news per night in the evening newscasts that they air. And those reach 19 million people per night, 19 to 20 million people per night across the country. So, I mean, that's a pretty stilted format for that sizable a portion of the electorate to be getting the majority of their news from. And I think that it's good that there actually are news sources that bother to kind of drill down on topics beyond just very basic surface level. Here's some of the facts, at least the facts that we feel like telling you. I think that's important. And there's basically always going to be a space for that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's by omission. If you don't talk about the story, doesn't mean it's not true. And that's, the
Right.
left-wing media very guilty of that, of course. Here at this network, we've talked about all the stories that are happening over the past 24/7 news cycle, everything from the DNI to DOJ, FBI when it comes to Russia. We've been talking about the DOJ's looking into the Epstein case. We've been talking about all these 20 wins or 200 wins that we've seen over the past 200 days with President Trump and on. But we also, again, want to stick to just truth and the basics of it. And to your point, yeah, if we were to watch one of the mainstream network news outlets, right, that's usually a half an hour newscast at 6:30 Eastern time or whatever time it is. And yeah, they start out the show with great music and the promos and saying, in Atlanta today, this happened. And in the Southwest, the floods hit. And then in the West Coast, Governor Newsom said this. And then President Trump says this. And then they start out, good evening, welcome. And they throw to a reporter for a 2-minute news package to break out a story that we just covered for freaking 3 hours. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, they give you the Reader's Digest version. They give you the Cliff Notes.
Yeah.
And yeah, a full segment is usually about 60 to 90 seconds. When I'm timing out broadcast transcripts and we get into over 200 seconds territory, my brain just goes, wow, like they really like this story. They are really obsessed with this story. And I'll go to a coworker and I'll be like, they talked about it for 5 minutes today, and he'll go, whoa. And I know that like to other people it's like 5 minutes is like, euphemistically or idiomatically meant to mean no time at all. But seriously, 5 minutes in broadcast world is like an eternity. And there's not enough time to cram all the meaningful information into 5 minutes, let alone 60 or 90 seconds, to fully grasp what's being shown to you. And so it sort of provides this illusion of being informed by not even letting on to how much had to be left out and how much they're choosing to leave out.
Exactly. Bill D'Agostino with the Media Research Center here live. If you could stick with us, it'd be great, because I think what's going to happen next is the Prime Minister of Armenia will be greeting and meeting with the President of the United States right there as the President greets him. And then they'll just simply walk into the Oval Office. So I think we can keep you from now until we'll go to the President while they greet each other. And then after that, maybe we can continue to talk, because then they go to the Oval Office. Once they're there and we get a live feed of that, we'll take it live. So if you're cool, you can stay with us until then. Does that work?
Yeah, it sounds good.
Okay, awesome. So let's dive into, so we talked about, the network news, those 30 minutes, ABC, NBC, CBS, and all that. That's what we used to, a lot of us that may be watching now are used to watching back in the day, and maybe still watch, hopefully not. And then, of course, in 80, CNN starts out, Fox News in 1996. And then, MSNBC sometime, whatever. And then you've got the international outlets like ITV, BBC, Sky News, Al Jazeera, all this stuff out there. So now we have this 24/7 news thing. And then that gives room for where instead of that 30-minute broadcast, you have an entire hour show, right? Where you have someone like a Rachel Maddow or Sean Hannity or whoever on there and talking for their monologue for however long, Jesse Waters on Fox, and on and on and on, and some great people throughout conservative media as well. So now there's a time where it's not just that shorter amount of time to talk about the news. It's a longer time, but it's also facts/op-ed, just like in the newspapers have always had an op-ed section. So people have been confused sometimes. They're like, well, wait a minute, is this the news or is this op-ed? And what we do here at the network is we try to say, hey, here we're reporting this fact here of what happened. Here's our opinion on it, and we kind of rock it from that vantage point. But what are your thoughts about that? Do you think people are confused at all when it comes to if they're watching a cable news network? I'm like, is this an op-ed? Is this news? Is it both? Are they trying to lie to us to have a false narrative, an agenda? And I don't care what network we're talking about here.
Well, I think that a lot of cable sort of falsely portrays the op-ed portion of it, because it very much hews to the broadcasts like ABC, CBS, NBC network kind of reporting style, which is basically every hour of, say, CNN, for example, as far as topics, is pretty close to indistinguishable from the hour that precedes it and follows it. It's going to be maybe 10 to 15 minutes on the main headline story of the day, maybe 6-7 minute segments on the next 2 or 3 or 4, and then kind of a little interest thing at the end. And most of the panel discussion will usually happen only in the first or second block. But basically all of those same topics will then be reused for the next hour. And so it's almost like watching the same show with slightly different people and occasionally slightly different takes.
That's a great point.
For just, it's about 18 hours a day, right? And then you get into them just re-airing a lot of the international stuff between midnight and 6 a.m.
Exactly.
But it gives less time for, like, I don't know. I would prefer a model where it's maybe, in this hour we're going to drill down on this topic, and this hour we're going to drill down on this topic. I think that would be a lot more. It'd be less repetitive, but it'd also be a lot more edifying, I think, for the audience.
Yeah, exactly. And we know that the audience is diminishing on the left side of the aisle when it comes to mainstream media anyway, network and cable news. Saw a Nielsen report from, I think it was May or June, that live stream, not just news, but live streaming just in general, overcame cable and broadcast combined in 1 month, which is good for places like Right Side and other networks that are, just do streaming. But back to the point there, when they have that panel, the expert panel come on, it's all skewed to their belief system anyway. So it's just a back and forth of, just more indoctrination of the lie. And you think about maybe in the mornings of various places that are left leaning, which is 95 to 98% of media, they have these meetings and they maybe pick 3 stories of the day. To your point, that was a great point you made, where you have this host and these correspondents and these experts for that first hour about X, Y, and Z. So let's say it's about what Tulsi Gabbard talked about the other day with the DNI Russia hoax, which there's evidence and receipts there. We're going to see how it plays out. But, let's on a left-wing side, they're going to say, okay, well, let's take this angle of this story and just say how it's not, try and poke holes in receipts and evidence, right? And then broadcast that to the entire world. CNN International and the airports and all that stuff. Isn't that wild that that's just the way it's been going for, 20 straight years now, 30?
Right, yeah. They're functionally the DNC's press shop at this point. If there's a narrative like that is kind of commanding a lot of the public consciousness, then they will spend as little time as they feel they need to covering it. And what time they do spend covering it is basically just them saying, here's why you don't need to listen to it. We went expert shopping and found these people with these credentials who will tell you that you don't need to listen to it, so don't worry about it. So the next time somebody brings that up, just tune out. Obviously that's not what they're saying verbatim, right? But that is very much the intended and I think well-received message of that style of reporting.
They've had that influence of the public swaying. That is such, swaying the court of public opinion is a big deal, because that may affect votes, that may affect the country, and it has in the past. And that's the problem that we see day in and day out when it comes to that mainstream media and a lot over there on the cable news side. So I think that's why people are waking up and they're starting to say, oh, there's another option, conservative media. We have people on the right side of history, whether it is one podcast person like a Megyn Kelly or a Tucker Carlson, but there's conservative networks like Right Side and others that are really being like, hey, let's just break this down and say, guys, do you want this country to be saved? Here's how it can be done. And thank God we have a president like President Trump in office right now. I'd rather have him than anybody else on earth right now. I'm glad he's the one that's doing this. There's still wins to be done. There's still things that need to be done. But I say that. Now, would you say that, obviously I'm sharing my personal bias, so should I always say, well, now, guys, I'm doing the newsman flow and I'm reporting the facts, and then now I'm doing the host show thing where I'm just talking about my opinion. You know what I mean? So it's a very, and this is very new and fresh, because that's why they call it at the White House new media. This is a whole new thing happening right now, and we are all at the beginning of it, which is pretty cool. And I'm not saying that, of course, Rush Limbaugh is the one that started it all. And then, RSBN's been around.
There's a new wave of it, though.
That's my point. There is this massive wave of people being like, well, I don't trust the other guys. I'm trusting these guys because they're saying exactly what I'm thinking.
Right. Yeah. And I think there's nothing wrong with having that level of commitment to a certain political side and still, deigning to also report facts. Right. I think that The only issue that arises from that is when you don't wear your biases on your sleeve, when you're not completely upfront with the audience that, yeah, like we're approaching this from this angle, because what that's doing is it's an outlet marketing itself to a specific group of people who already know what kind of product, like what kind of news product they're looking for. And the pitfall that you get into if you're not doing that is the uninitiated, right? Somebody who just kind of stumbles across it might think like, okay, well, this is just a straight down the middle, like not trying to insert any sort of leaning, really endeavoring to give both sides their due. They might misinterpret that.
So what I'm thinking is that how in the world will someone from 2025 right now and into the future, will we ever be able to have a so-called down the middle thing? And this is going to sound awful. And even if in China they tried to have an AI robot anchor. Have you seen the video? I don't know if you've seen it. It's pretty wild stuff, but there's no emotion there. How are they going to do breaking news and type that fast into the AI's brain to report this? Or there's a number of holes in that it's just not going to work. But I don't know. And then whoever's typing into that will have their personal bias. So how in the world are we ever going to get to a point where it's no bias at all and we're going to report what says the right and what they say on the left? But indirectly, we have been doing that here at Right Side. We've been saying the left's saying this about it, the right's saying this, and here's why we think it's true. And I guess what it is to kind of end the conversation from this, at least this perspective, is the amount of trust over time that the viewers have for X, Y, and Z journalist or X, Y, and Z network. And just to be like, hey, they are reliable, they're real, they're everyday Americans like we are. Here we are. And and that just grows. And so that's how the views continue to increase as well, no?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that the best litmus test for that is if your viewers were to hear like a very representative kind of argument of the left's perspective on an issue, where they bring all of what they feel are their most compelling facts to bear. If your viewers were to go, yeah, I already know all that. I don't agree. I still don't agree. I'd say that's an informed audience. And I think that the issue that I'm harping on them a lot today, but CNN and MSNBC, for example, get into is if somebody watching, say, Rachel Maddow every night were to actually sit down and earnestly listen to, say, like all of your best facts on DNI Gabbard's revelations, or all of the best facts that what I think are the most compelling facts, and truly mull them over, there'd probably be a bit of, well, why haven't I heard any of this before? That can't be true. Is that really, like, you know what I mean? They're so closed off from the other side of it that kind of proves the issue, right? And so I see that as a litmus test for whether you're doing your job as a journalist or not. Yeah,
I mean, people like Laura Logan, Catherine Herridge, who used to work at Fox and CBS, now out there.
Phenomenal reporter.
These kind of people are just like, man, I got to get the facts and the truth of the story. And this is what I'm getting excited about right now, is there is something within journalism when you really desire to report what's happening, the truth of the matter, and then to get that out to the people, because other people that aren't in the media, which is most of the country, so they have to rely on something if they want to know what the heck's going on out there. And that's what I like about Right Side and conservative media is watch what happens here. We don't go to some other guest or some other thing. When we see the president of the United States, whether it's President Trump or whoever the president is, we go to it and you have the entire clip right here live right now. And I think that people really like that, because I can't interrupt it. If I was in the mainstream media and I want to try and come in there and talk over the president, and that's what a lot of the mainstream media has done. They dip in, dip out of coverage. They did it so many times with all the speeches with President Trump over the years. That's why Right Side kicks some serious you-know-what over the years, because this was something where the mainstream networks were like, hey.
They filter it.
Yeah, exactly. They filter it. So President Trump, say he's speaking in Florida and it's 20 whatever, back in the day, right? He's running for president. And yeah, one of the networks might be like, well, let's go to the candidate Donald Trump right now speaking in Miami, Florida. And they go there and they see President Trump talking, or the candidate at that time, and maybe give it 30 seconds, and then you dip out of it and they go on to what their agenda of the day is. And that's
or just start fact-checking him immediately, right? Fact-checking him with their experts that they pre-selected.
Exactly, all on the left side of history. So the point, yeah, great point.
Right.
And then, so that's why that birthed what Right Side Broadcasting Network is to this day, is a network that was like, hey, you know what? And that's what I like about it. It was common sense from the start from Joe Seals. It was straight up. It was like, hey, this guy, Donald Trump, is talking, and none of the mainstream media wants to cover this, and they don't want to show the crowds either. They just show, if I'm candidate Trump, and they show just the people right here on that tight shot, just like we're showing right here, right now. But then, of course, with our cameras, we were showing, I mean, we had angles all over the place. We had cameras everywhere, and we saw all the people. And the mainstream media, man, they were screaming probably inside. And the Democrats were like, no, we don't want this guy to win. And then you look back in, 2016 or whatever year it was, and they're all like, Donald Trump will never win the White House. And then, all the clips, right? I mean,
oh yeah,
it's wild. What a wild time we live in, right?
It's remarkable. And it's remarkable to think how different things would be if just a few million people had voted differently, say, 7 months ago or whatever. It's we're definitely in the good timeline right now, I think.
Yeah, and we want to see more wins, and we want to see those that have broken the law be held accountable. Peter Navarro said that just the other day. So, yeah, I really think that it's a very interesting time when it comes to, are you reporting truth or are you reporting lies? Are you on the side of good or are you on the side of evil? Are you on the side of freedom or are you on the side of tyranny? And that's basically what I see right now with true conservative media versus what's on the other side of the aisle.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I would agree.
Yeah.
I would absolutely agree.
Well, let's see if there's one more topic we can dig up here while we're talking before the president meets with the Prime Minister of Armenia when it comes to maybe newsrooms or what it's like even to work in mainstream media. Some of these people, and I've worked there, Robert McNeely's worked there, Christina Loren. I mean, if you ever spoke about, your faith in God or Jesus or President Trump in the sense of, voting for him or MAGA or the Constitution or anything patriotic, they'd look at you like, what school did you go to? Did you go to my journalism school where I was brainwashed and indoctrinated the whole time? Why do you think it is that all of these people that flooded journalism and flooded our institutions, whether it's education, whether it's the public library system, don't get me started on the public library system with some of the books that are there. Don't get me started on that one. But your thoughts about that? Like, why do you think they just wanted to flood all the institutions out there?
My understanding of it is that leftism and Marxism more specifically, but leftism generally is basically a virus that its primary function is to, or when it infects you, it makes your primary function to go infect something else and turn that into a leftism factory. And specifically in a democracy or a democratic republic, or as they would just call it a democracy, but information has a lot of inherent political power to it. And the control of information specifically, because information is how people determine their votes, and of course votes determine where all the political power goes. So it was basically the left sort of acting on its own natural instinct to take over something and pervert it into a direction that would benefit the political left. And I think the issue is that it's a self-reinforcing thing. It's a positive feedback loop. Because of that phenomenon that you just mentioned, right, where you're in a newsroom and somebody says something just slightly out of line or that indicates that they're not on board with everything, and they sort of become ostracized. They're persona non grata at that point. And so the kind of inherent ideological intolerance of the left is what keeps all of these organizations so seemingly irredeemably left-wing, because they do not tolerate any kind of dissent, right? And so they basically they keep hewing to the party line in that way.
That's a great point. So they keep their own in that newsroom. Simple as that.
Right. And I think that the only way to do away with that is to destroy the power that those institutions hold until they're no longer appealing for the left to colonize. So for the news media, that means basically reputational destruction.
All right, Bill. Thank you so much, Bill D'Agostino with MRC, for joining us. We're going to go to President Trump right now. Thank you, sir.
President Trump, share your message to persecuted Christian Armenians. Mr. President Trump, do you have a message for persecuted Christian Armenians, sir?
All right. I was getting the call to go to President Trump. We had to go to President Trump, of course. I was going to keep Bill on for a minute there, but of course, a decent amount of time there with Bill, starting at about, I think it was about 2:15. Did we go that long of an interview? Holy smokes. What I'm hearing from our director is that there may be the meeting between the president and the president or the prime minister of Armenia and the president of Azerbaijan at the same time. So that may be happening momentarily. We'll see if that president of Azerbaijan shows up as well, and the president would come out and greet him, and that they would meet together. Who knows? We'll monitor the live feeds here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. All right, so it's 2:55 Eastern. Let's go to All Family Pharmacy. The fight for medical freedom is real, and All Family Pharmacy is doing something about it. So they just lowered prices by up to 25% on ivermectin and mebendazole, making these medications easier and more affordable for families across America to stay prepared. So you don't need to wait in a doctor's office or deal with insurance. All Family Pharmacy works with licensed doctors who review your request online, write the prescription, and then they ship quickly to your door. They will help you out with all sorts of medications there, whether it's ivermectin, mebendazole. They have more than 200 medications, all of this without hassle or gatekeeping or the inflated costs. Just real medicine for you right now. So check them out and get what you need. They have over 200 medications available, all from a pharmacy that's on your side. Again, that's allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use that 10% code to get that extra 10% off. So it's allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Let's go to Spring, Texas, angelpaste.com. The great flagship product right there, the Miracle Cream. There's other products as well on there that you can choose from. If you're looking for a gift or if you just want to try the product out yourself, we're hearing that there are good reviews on the product, so angelpaste.com. You can check that out as well. Let's go to mypillow.com/RSBN. Free shipping is still there for you. So if you're looking for, maybe you want to get a new pillow or a new mattress topper or maybe a new mattress or slides, slippers, coffee, all sorts of products. The products you see there, the My Cross, there's so many products that you can choose from. Of course, over 2,000 of them right there on mypillow.com/RSBN. All right, so it's 2:57. We're 3 minutes, of course, from the top of the hour. As soon as we see live feeds with the president in the Oval Office, whether it's with both leaders of both countries that do border each other, I heard that from Secretary of State Marco Rubio. He was doing an interview with EWTN, the Catholic Global Network, and he was saying, the Secretary of State, that this may be a start of a peace deal between the two countries. In Armenia, there's a population of about 3 million people. In Azerbaijan, about 10 million people. Azerbaijan, majority Muslim faith there. Armenia, a majority Christian faith. So will there be a peace deal between the two nations? Is that something that we're going to see here today? We do know there will be a trilateral signing between the three leaders. So that may be about peace. So let's go there now, live to outside the White House, I believe. Or is that car just leaving? Okay, that's just the Armenian flag there, I believe. But I don't know if, yeah, that might be. I saw both flags just yesterday, so I was just double checking as I was doing just research on what we're covering today. But we do know that we're going to see the President of the United States and the Prime Minister of Armenia in just a minute inside that Oval Office. The Prime Minister's name is Nikol Pashinyan. Is the Armenian Prime Minister, and then the Prime Minister or the President of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev. So these are two world leaders that are meeting with the President throughout the day. Again, thank you so much for streaming in with us as it's about 3 o'clock Eastern, 1 minute away from the top of the hour. Let's go over a few more social media videos that we've seen out there from the United States government, whether it's the Department of Defense or Department of Homeland Security or the Environmental Protection Agency. There's just a lot going on. So let's get back into that flow of things. We started our broadcast about an hour ago. We saw a video from the HUD Secretary, Housing and Urban Development Secretary Scott Turner. He gave us an update on how things are going. Also, we heard from Lee Zeldin. We also took a look out there in Wyoming as Secretary of Labor Lori Chavez DeRemer was checking out the workforce out there. She's kind of on a trip out there. She was in Idaho, then Wyoming, maybe going to another place soon. We also covered the fact that Secretary of State Marco Rubio is talking about increasing the reward for the arrest of dictator Nicolas Maduro to $50 million for violating U.S. narcotics laws. Maduro is the head of the vicious Cartel de los Soles, a narco-terror organization which has taken over Venezuela. So Secretary of State Marco Rubio saying Maduro must be brought to justice. We can look at that photo maybe again. This is a reward increase of up to $50 million for information leading to the arrest and or conviction of the leader of the specially designed global terrorist cartel de los Soles. So this is something that I saw on social media, of course, from the government. So we're able to use these kind of posts there, of course, crediting whether it's Secretary Rubio or the Department of State. We also went over a U.S. Central Command video showing a pretty cool situation there where it's just an Air Force A-10 Thunderbolt signaling thank you to a KC-135 Stratotanker after receiving fuel during a combat patrol over the U.S. Central Command area of responsibility. So that all happened over the past hour. We may go to some of those videos again because there's a lot yet for us to see here at Right Side Broadcasting Network with the president. But what we can do is go to some videos we haven't showed yet. And why don't we do that while we're on a split screen there at the White House? And what we can do is while we show the video, if we do see the president or if we see the Oval Office start up where it's President Trump in that live feed there, we'll cut directly to it. So let's go to the U.S. Marines along the Arizona southern border. And while you're watching this video, there's this pretty cool moment where one of the Marines is reinforcing the southern border wall, and he's welding part of the wall there, or part of an attachment. And his mask that he's wearing is so cool. It's a United States looking mask with a flag on it. Maybe you'll catch it in this video. So why don't you take a look as we await the President of the United States.
Make sure it doesn't go.
Okay, so that was out there in Yuma, Arizona on July 29th. Our U.S. Marines, reinforcing the border wall there. This is as the border wall is continuing to be built, the new border wall under that big, beautiful law, thanks to President Trump and Congress for that. Let's go to some of our sponsors as we await President Trump there. We know that Cove Pure is a great new sponsor. Utah and Florida actually just passed bills to ban fluoride in water supply. Why are all these states suddenly doing that massive U-turn on fluoride when they've been adding it to our water for the last 80 years? Well, RFK Jr., of course, has been speaking about fluoride for a while now, and the government now admits to the fact that fluoride is linked to a lower IQ. So in a study done by JAMA Pediatrics, one of the top medical journals, scientists found that fluoride levels over 2 milligrams per liter of water caused more than a 2-point drop in children's IQ scores. So that's why we're proud to partner with this great group here with this great product. At the end of the day, tap water versus much cleaner and better tasting water, always a pretty easy choice in my opinion. Definitely like this kind of product right here with Cove Pure. That's why we're proud to partner with these guys. It's a filtration system that sits on your countertop. So you don't have to drill any holes or call a plumber to set it up. Just fill it with tap water, plug it in, and it gets right to work. Their ClearWave technology is certified to remove up to 99.9% of impurities in your water. So anything that's not water, meaning fluoride, pharmaceuticals, even forever chemicals, they get filtered out, leaving you with that pure water. So once you try Cove Pure water, you're not going to go back to the tap water. It makes your water taste really good. And the best part is it has that touch screen that lets you choose whatever temperature you want. So cold, hot, warm, it just couldn't be easier. So if you happen to like fluoride, of course, that's totally fine. You can get it through toothpaste or mouthwash. But the government, of course, should never force you to ingest it. So take back your right to choose. Click below right there at covepure.com/RSBN. And for a limited time only, get that special discount of $200 off Cove Pure. Also, if you'd like to donate to Right Side Broadcasting Network, all you have to do is text RSBN to 801-801, rsbnetwork.com/donate. Or text RSBN to 801-801. We'll get you that address here in just a minute. We had a few iPad malfunctions earlier, so still trying to get the specifics on the address again, but we'll give you that address if you want to send cash or check. But in the meantime, it is 3:06, Friday, August 8th. Thanks again for joining us. Let's go to callsheet.com quickly. As you know, there are many, many topics there: science, technology, sports, weather, faith, all sorts of stuff that you can bet or trade. Or just check out some polls out there if you'd like. Or specifically, it comes down to even, what's the temperature in New York going to be today? I mean, people are actually betting and trading on all sorts of stuff there. They have the QR code that takes you to callsheet.com. And I believe that goes right to /RSBN as well. So a great website to go to. Also, you can use the app as well. There's more than 100 users on callsheet.com /RSBN as it's 3:07. Friday, August 8th. All right, so we're looking there live, of course, outside the West Wing of the White House. You see the Eisenhower Executive Office building, that grayish building to the right there. A lot of White House staff, of course, have their offices in that building. That is right there connected to the White House grounds. It's all White House grounds. And then coming up, what we're seeing here, since we're waiting with this vantage point, is the president of Azerbaijan. So then from there, maybe what we'll see is a meeting between all three of these leaders in the Oval Office, and then there'll be a Q&A maybe with the reporters. We're just going to monitor what happens there. We do know that there is a trilateral signing between the leaders of Azerbaijan, Armenia, and our president, Donald Trump. So that is most likely that signing, because I was seeing a report from EWTN where Secretary of State Marco Rubio on Monday, I believe, or Tuesday, was getting interviewed. He said that these two countries' leaders will be here on Friday, which is today, of course, and it was all about this peace deal that may be getting started. So that may be what's happening today. And of course, it's always must-watch streaming when you hear President Trump and the reporters go back and forth, especially in the Oval Office. Man, there's been some fireworks, hasn't there been, over the past 6, 7, 8 months of the president when it comes to when Vladimir Zelensky was there, when President Trump said, I have the cards and you don't have the cards, and that time when the South African leader was there just a few months back, and just this back and forth between he and a reporter. And then just, a lot of other leaders that have been sitting right next to him there at the Oval Office. So today might be 2 people sitting with him there. So we'll see. We'll monitor it here, and we're glad you're with us to check it all out. All right, so in the meantime, while we await the president of Azerbaijan to meet with the president of the United States, or while we wait for President Trump to meet with the Armenian president who just arrived there in the Oval Office, depending on which feed we get and what's going on, we're just tracking with the live, as they call it, a live fluid situation. That's kind of what this is. We'll just roll with it. So glad you're here with us. Again, happy Friday to you, August 8th. As it's 3:09 Eastern Time. Let's switch our focus now as we await the leader meetings there to getting drugs like fentanyl out of our country. So earlier today, according to a Department of Homeland Security X post, it says that Governor Pritzker out of Illinois, a.k.a. Jelly Belly, as Robert McNeely so rightly calls him, and Mayor Johnson are allowing the worst of the worst to roam free. This is according to the DHS right now. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem says the governor and mayor would rather play politics and be a sanctuary state than actually protect their people. The debate over so-called sanctuary policies comes down to one simple question, according to Kristi Noem. Do you stand with law-abiding Americans or with criminal illegal aliens? Here's the DHS secretary from Chicago earlier today.
Since President Trump has taken office, we have arrested hundreds of thousands of these illegal criminals. I'm here today because the elected leaders in this state of Illinois are ignoring the law. In fact, they're being obstructionists when it comes to getting dangerous criminals off of their streets. They are deciding that dangerous criminals that are murderers, rapists, money launderers, have committed assault, that are trafficking children, are more important than the families that live in the communities here. That includes Governor Pritzker, Mayor Johnson, and others who have worked so hard to protect these dangerous criminals. They'd rather be a sanctuary state and continue to put those individuals above American citizens who built this country, who've raised their families here for generations and just want to be able to walk down the street safely at night and put their kids to bed and live a peaceful life. Today I'm highlighting 4 different examples of individuals that we've recently arrested here out of this office with the good work of ICE and our HSI officers that we've taken off the streets without the help of the governor or the mayor. Our federal officers have had to do this alone without their support, and these dangerous individuals are now no longer victimizing people because of the good work that we do. Hector Bonaparte is a 42-year-old illegal Mexican alien who had previously been convicted of predatory sexual criminal assault against a victim under the age of 13. We have Jarvin Flores Santos, who's a 40-year-old Honduras individual who was arrested back in 2020 the first time for aggravated criminal sexual abuse and attempted criminal sexual abuse of a minor under the age of 13 again. And Waldemar Jabik, a Polish citizen who had been convicted in 2014 for attempted murder and then also aggravated domestic battery. He was convicted of these after he stabbed his own wife and his 19-year-old daughter. It was not the first time that police have been called to his house for domestic disturbance, but he was never held accountable until recently by these federal officers. Don Gay Silas, a 33-year-old illegal alien from Micronesia, has had 3 DUI convictions, and as well as convictions of criminal mischief, of wanton endangerment, and driving without a license. These individuals would still be out on our streets today, committing crimes and attacking people and harming them and hurting our children if Governor Pritzker and Mayor Johnson had their way, because their choice has been routinely over and over and over again to release these criminals back on the streets. The debate over so-called sanctuary policies has real consequences. It has consequences for our law enforcement officers, but also for the families that live here and the businesses that are just trying to provide for their community. Governor Pritzker and Mayor Johnson are answering that question every single day of who should be our priority, who should be our responsibility, and over again, they're choosing criminals.
All right, so the DHS Secretary Kristi Noem in the windy city of Chicago, Illinois today, talking about fentanyl and talking about, ending the sanctuary policies, what a joke it is anyway. So we're going to see what happens there. In the meantime, as we await the feed there of the Prime Minister of Armenia and the President in the Oval Office, or on top of the President of Azerbaijan as he pulls up there. We'll be going to our live feeds as soon as we see the Commander-in-Chief. In the meantime, let's go to All Family Pharmacy. The fight for medical freedom is real, and All Family Pharmacy is doing something about it. So they just lowered prices by up to 25% on ivermectin and mebendazole, making these medications easier and more affordable for families across the country to stay prepared. So you don't need to wait in a doctor's office or deal with insurance. So All Family Pharmacy works with licensed doctors who review your request online. They write the prescription, and then they ship quickly to your door. So there's all sorts of medications that you can choose from here, more than 200 medications, including ivermectin and mebendazole. You won't have any hassle or gatekeeping or inflated costs, just real medication for you. So you can check them out and get what you need. They have more than 200 medications available, all from a pharmacy that's on your side. So go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can use the RSBN 10 promo code to get that extra 10% off. Allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Of course, because medical freedom matters. All right, so let's go to angelpaste.com as well. A lot of products to choose from if you just go to angelpaste.com. I know that those of you that watch the network, when we say, hey, go to this website, that kind of thing, please, some of you that don't do it, maybe just try it sometimes. I mean, think about it. These are great, obviously, companies, but also, anytime you use an RSBN promo code, that's buying the product, but also, going to us too, in a way, when it comes to the financial means. So it's always good to just support these great products and these great companies. Angel Paste is one of them right there out of Spring, Texas. Let's go to Minnesota right now, where it's mypillow.com. Of course, Mike Lindell. We all know Mike because, of course, he's been on many commercials. He's done a great thing for this country, and he continues to do great things for this country, especially when it comes to election security. So you can support him and support us indirectly as well by going to mypillow.com/RSBN. Get that free shipping sale, all sorts of products, as you guys know, and you hear from time and time again, I talk about the more than 2,000 products to choose from. And maybe, you know what we'll do? Why don't we do this right now? Director, do we have any feed right now when it comes to actually seeing the president right this second? Okay, so we don't have that this second. So what we'll do is, I want to go to mypillow.com, so I'll just practice what I preach here. Mypillow.com, RSBN. Okay, it's interesting to kind of, do what I'm doing right now, just live, nonstop, without any real prompter or anything, no teleprompter. But anyway, let's go to mypillow.com/RSBN, and you see you have an employee pricing sale. The original My Slippers you can save $110 off of them, $39.98. There's a classic collection sale, $17.98 for the pillows. The Giza Dream Sheets are at $69.98. The kitchen and bath towels, as low as $9.99. Dog beds are at $39.98. So yeah, if you guys can, if you have the extra few bucks, great. If you don't, totally get it. But again, if you do, please go to mypillow.com/RSBN. Great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network as you're looking live there outside the White House on this Friday. All right, let's go to another video as we await the President of the United States. So I have to double check where they all are at this point. Let's go to the Department of Health and Human Services now. This is where RFK Jr. released a statement today via social media saying medical decisions should be made based on one thing, the well-being of the person, never on a financial bonus or government mandate. Doctors deserve the freedom to use their training, follow the science, and speak the truth without fear of punishment. Let's go to RFK Jr. as we await the president.
Hi, I'm Robert F. Kennedy Jr., your HHS secretary. Let me ask you something. Should doctors make decisions based upon what's best for their patients or based upon what makes them the most money? It's not a tough question. We've inherited a healthcare system that constantly pushes doctors toward the latter. It rewards certain treatments not because they're better for the patient, but because someone profits. Take what happened during COVID. Hospitals were paid to report staff vaccination rates, Those numbers were fed into the National Healthcare Safety Network, then published on the CDC website to shame any hospital that refused to become an enforcer of federal vaccine mandates. Today, I'm proud to announce we've eliminated that policy by repealing a dangerous Biden-era provision in the CMS inpatient payment rule. And we're not stopping there. We're scanning every corner of the healthcare system for hidden incentives that corrupt medical judgment. What we're finding is alarming. Doctors are being paid to vaccinate, not to evaluate. They're pressured to follow the money, not the science. We've recently uncovered that more than 36,000 doctors had their Medicare reimbursements altered based upon childhood vaccination rates. That's not medicine. That's coercion. It's immoral. It has no place in a constitutional democracy or in a system that claims to protect children. Medical decisions should be made based upon one thing and one thing only: the well-being of the patient, never on a financial bonus or a government mandate. Patients deserve honest, uncorrupted advice from their doctors. Doctors deserve the freedom to use their training and to follow the science and speak the truth without fear of punishment. Doctors should be guided by medical judgment and their Hippocratic oath, not by financial incentives or government mandates. That's what this policy change is about, and it's just the beginning. Thank you very much.
Produced by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Great to see RFK Jr. there delivering a message to all of us here in the country. So you can check out all the videos that we play here at the network, of course, on X and Truth Social. I mean, these are some of the freshest videos. Sometimes we'll see a video that's posted like 8 minutes ago, and we'll do our best to throw it up there for you. This as we await the president of Azerbaijan. So it looks like, from what we're seeing here, and I was talking with the director during RFK's statement there because I watched it earlier, but the point is, originally on the public schedule, the president was going to meet with the Prime Minister of Armenia first, and then do a bilateral signing, and then later the president of Azerbaijan was going to show up, and then the same, follow the same plan, and then at the end there would be a trilateral signing, which is going to most likely be about peace between the two countries out there. Again, Armenia, 3 million people population, around that number, and around 10 million for Azerbaijan. So what we're seeing now is, usually over the past several months after covering a lot of these events, myself and Robert McNeely here at the network, we would already be in the Oval Office at this point, and we'd be hearing the president talk with the world leader that's there, and by now we would actually be at the question and answer session. But since it's been delayed this long, what we're leaning to at this point, just watching it as it happens, is that simply the president of Azerbaijan will pull up, the president of the United States will walk out, they'll greet, they'll say hi, they'll go into the Oval Office, and then that's when we'll get that live feed from in the Oval Office with both leaders from Armenia and Azerbaijan and President Trump, as they'll talk all three together in front of the press, then do a Q&A, then maybe do that trilateral signing, signed, sealed, delivered. It's a Friday, and then, maybe that's it, as long as there's no breaking news, of course. All right, so at this hour, as we wait the president there of Azerbaijan, we're awaiting a confirmation from the White House and the Pentagon on the following report from the New York Times. Definitely always want to confirm your facts, no matter if you're getting your information from right side or conservative media or left wing. You got to figure out what you have to get there. Now I'm hearing about a toss, so we're going to throw to something right now, but I'll get back to that story in just a second. So let's go there.
President Trump, sir, how confident are you there can be lasting peace between Armenia and Azerbaijan? Very confident. And does the deal today protect Christians? Thank you very much.
Okay, so we were right. Good to see that now both leaders are there at the Oval Office. So any minute from now, whenever the live feed hits here at the network, we're going to go right to the president and the two world leaders that are there. And it somewhat confirms what we were talking about earlier, that this is all about peace between Azerbaijan and Armenia. Again, Armenia with the 3 million people, the population there, and then 10 million for Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan, a predominantly Muslim country, Armenia, predominantly Christian country, and a peace deal of sorts. You know, when you think of world politics and world news, there's so much going on just in our country alone, but to know every conflict around every part or every corner of the earth, that's just a lot of work. If you are able to do that, good on you, as they say, or kudos. But you know, sometimes you just have to research and look at specifics when it comes to both of the nations. And you know that they do border each other in a part of Eurasia, as they call it, right? That's Europe and Asia. There's 5 billion people that live in both Europe and Asia for Eurasia. So that those two countries also border Iran and a number of other countries, obviously, in that neck of the woods. So a lot of different stuff going on there. We're going to hear more about it here shortly. And I'm going to get to that news article that I was referring to in just a second. But we have a couple more sponsors to thank and also talk about it. Again, without these great sponsorships, we would not be able to provide you these live feeds and all of the different things that you see at Right Side. So we're super grateful for people like this great pharmacy. And on top of that, they're great people. I mean, they're on the right side of history and they're doing things for we the people. So, hey, we like that too. All right, so let's go to allfamilypharmacy.com. As you see there, the fight for medical freedom is real, and All Family Pharmacy, they're doing something about it. So they just lowered their prices for ivermectin and mebendazole by 25%. So they're making these medications easier and more affordable for families across the country to stay prepared. You don't need to wait in a doctor's office or deal with insurance. So All Family Pharmacy works with licensed doctors who review your request online. They write the prescription and they ship quickly to your door. All sorts of medications there, more than 200 medications, including ivermectin and mebendazole. So here's the thing. This is all without the hassle, without gatekeeping and inflation costs that are just way high. They're not dealing with any of that stuff. You can check them out, get what you need, and they have, again, over 200 medications, all from a pharmacy that's on your side. So allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You use that RSBN 10 promo code for that extra 10% off, and that's always good. RSBN 10 plus the 25% off if you're getting ivermectin and mebendazole. So you're talking 35% for those two products. As it's 3:27 Eastern time. Let's go to Cove Pure right now, another new sponsor here at the network. And Utah and Florida have just done a few things there where they passed bills to ban fluoride in the water supply. So why are all these states suddenly doing a massive U-turn on fluoride when they've been adding it to our water for the last 8 decades? RFK Jr., of course, has been warning us about fluoride for a while, and the government now admits the fact that fluoride is linked to lower IQs. So a study done by JAMA Pediatrics, one of those top medical journals out there, scientists found that fluoride levels over 2 milligrams per liter of water caused more than a 2-point drop in children's IQ scores. So that's why we're proud to partner with Cove Pure here. Cove Pure is a water filtration system that sits on your countertop. You don't have to drill any holes or call a plumber to fill it up or to set it up. Just fill it with tap water, plug it in, and it gets straight to work. So ClearWave technology that they have is certified to remove upwards of 99.9% of impurities in your water. Anything that isn't water, meaning things like fluoride, pharmaceuticals, forever chemicals, gets filtered out, leaving you with pure water. So once you try Cove Pure Water, you're not going back to the tap water stuff. If you like tap water, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. It's not good stuff, in my opinion. It doesn't taste good either, unless you're drinking from a well. But anyway, it makes your water taste so good with Cove Pure, though. The best part is it has that touch screen on there that lets you choose whatever temperature you want. So cold, hot, warm. It couldn't be easier. So if you happen to like fluoride, of course, that's totally fine. You can get it through toothpaste or mouthwash, but of course the government should never force you to ingest it. So take back your right to choose. Click below covepure.com/RSBN. You also get that $200 off right now. So good time to go there, covepure.com/RSBN. Also, if you'd like to donate to Right Side Broadcasting Network, you can do so by texting RSBN to 801-801, rsbnetwork.com/donate. It's the bottom of the hour right now. Let me see if I can get that specific address for you guys when it comes to if you want to send a check or cash, which I found out recently that there are donors that give monthly via check, and they like to send it to a P.O. box that we have, and they've been doing so for years. So thank you so much for doing that. Let me see if I could find that specific address here. And if I can't find it now, we'll definitely talk about it before the end of the broadcast. So why don't we just do it that way for now? Again, as I had a few malfunctions with the old laptop earlier, the iPad. So anyway, bottom of the hour, 3:30. Looking there at the White House right now. So we see that both world leaders are in the Oval Office. We should be seeing the President of the United States and the leaders of Armenia and Azerbaijan soon. All right, so once again, back to the story we were talking about before we tossed it out there to Washington. We're looking for confirmation from the White House and the Pentagon and the following report from the New York Times, of course. We always want to fact check, right? And the New York Times is reporting the following, that President Trump has signed a Pentagon directive to begin using military force against Latin American drug cartels. Let me repeat that. President Trump has signed a Pentagon directive to begin using military force against Latin American drug cartels. That, according to the New York Times, we have an email and a text into both the White House and to the Pentagon to confirm that report from the New York Times. We're waiting for that response, but also we see that response whether it's directly independently verified through Right Side or out there on social media, whether it's through Carolyn Levitt or whatever. I just want to know personally, though, too, is that true? Or will there be any military force against the drug cartel, which is a terrorist organization? Many people, at least on the right side of history, are saying, yeah, that is what's needed because of all of the fentanyl that's coming through and all of the drugs that pour into our country from these drug cartels. So more specifically in that New York Times article, it says Trump's clandestine directive orders the Pentagon to deploy military force possibly on foreign soil, marking a drastic shift from law enforcement to military-led operations. Again, this per the New York Times and via disclosed.tv. So again, awaiting for confirmation on this report. Meantime, as for cleaning up Washington, D.C. and making it safer, sticking to the New York papers right now, New York Post is reporting President Trump is deploying federal law enforcement on the streets of the nation's capital as early as today. So let me repeat that. President Trump is deploying federal law enforcement on the streets of the nation's capital as early as today to crack down on violence by gangs of roaming youths, the White House confirmed to the Post. Carolyn Levitt also reposted a Fox News article indirectly confirming the presidential move. And on the opinion editorial side of things, I'm in full support and full agreement of federal agents or federal, what would I call them? Let me get the right word on that. I mean, federal law enforcement, that's the best way to call it, to clean up the streets, to make them safer there in Washington, D.C. Because our trust is in a president that is on the right side of history, that, like with ICE, when ICE goes and does what they do, they're doing it to have law and order for our country and to have the biggest mass deportation operation in the country. We believe in things like that. Well, I also believe in having D.C. be much safer than it is today. And it may take what President Trump is doing, federal law enforcement, to assist in that operation. I'm 100% on board with something like that. We're also still tracking some other stories. Of course, earlier in the week, U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi directed the DOJ to open that criminal grand jury investigation into the Russia hoax, where those alleged bad actors tried to subvert the will of the American people and stop President Trump in what many are calling acts of seditious conspiracy. So we'll see what happens there. Of course, the president last month on Truth Social said the Russia hoax is now totally undisputed. The president said on Truth Social that the facts are all there in black and white. It is the biggest scandal in American history. The perpetrators of this crime must pay a big price. This can never be allowed to happen in our country again. We're also monitoring that story along with any developments in the Epstein case. Within that framework, the DOJ, of course, we'll see if there's any specifics out of that. We do know that Kentucky Congressman James Comer posted the following on X earlier in the week, that the House Oversight Committee is compelling the following individuals to appear for depositions through issued subpoenas. This is all regarding the Epstein case. So those being deposed are people like Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Merrick Garland, William Barr, Alberto Gonzalez, Loretta Lynch, Eric Holder, Robert Mueller. I don't see the name James Comey there. I have to double check if he's on there. Eric Holder. Let me see here. Nope. Okay, so his name's not on that specifically when it comes to the Epstein situation, but maybe he'll be talked about for some other thing. So anyway, that's all happening over the next few months at the House committee there. Will they actually show up? Will they talk? Will they plead the fifth? What will they say? We'll see what happens. There's a lot of news to be had coming up over the next few months. This, as we just continue the 24/7 news cycle here at Right Side and in conservative media. And those of you that like conservative media and are on the right side of history, isn't it refreshing to have things like this event that you're going to see from start to finish? We're not going to dip in, dip out of coverage. We don't need to hurry up and go to some, other, expert or something, which we do like to bring on the broadcast, but while it's leading up to the event, and that's what we're covering here, of course, is the event as we await the live feed inside the Oval Office. Again, this is all about a peace deal between Armenia and Azerbaijan out there in Eurasia, where there are, again, saw that statistic yesterday. And I know Eurasia isn't specifically a continent because it's Asia and then Europe, but the word Eurasia, right? There's 5 billion people that live in that space of Europe and Asia. That's a lot of people, wow. And there's only, about 8 billion people on Earth? 5 billion of them live in Eurasia. That's crazy. Wow. So those two countries that you see at the bottom of your screen, they border each other. They also border Iran. So that's kind of near the Caspian Sea out there in that part of the world. So just a little bit of a geography lesson that I had to give myself to be at least somewhat informed on what I'm talking about today, of course. So looking forward to seeing the president there. Again, this is about a peace deal. This is spoken about via the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, earlier in the week, talking about this meeting today, saying that this would be the start of peace between the two countries. So again, Azerbaijan, about 10 million people there in the population. Armenia, about 3 million. Armenia, a predominantly Christian nation. Azerbaijan, predominantly Islam. So that's the mini breakdown, 30,000-foot view of what's going on there. All right, so it's 3:37 Eastern Time, Friday, August 8th. This is what I think we can do at this point. Why don't we double check X and Truth Social, see if there's any national or international breaking news on that. I was thinking about going to a commercial break, but instead I think we'll stay tight here or hang tight here because we might be seeing that live feed right there in the Oval Office, and we don't want to miss that. So let's go to X quickly here as we just monitor what's going on out there. In the social media world, Secretary Sean Duffy, of course, with the Transportation Department, saying 3 minutes ago, all glory to God. Christ on the water is out of the basement. So this is something that I remember following this story. Apparently at one of the facilities there at the Department of Transportation, there was this beautiful painting that was called Christ on the Water. So Secretary Sean Duffy 3 minutes ago saying Work will continue to get it fully restored and back into a place of prominence. So I guess there was this beautiful painting. It was in the basement. They're getting it out of there. To our amazing men and women at I guess it's midshipmen. I'm trying to look at all of the words here. Religious expression is something we celebrate, not condemn. So John Brown in D.C. said, a midshipman sent me the picture of Christ on the water being brought up today from a basement at USMMAO, which Secretary Duffy promised would happen during his visit last Easter. So that's happening there. Some of the other information we're seeing, specifically showing from the White House there. The president is putting American families first, talking about President Trump's leadership delivered historic child care improvements, that according to The Hill. As we just page through a little bit of the latest on X. What we do see a lot of the times on the Homeland Security, if you follow that X account, they show us various ICE offices throughout the country and what they've been up to. And in Phoenix, Arizona communities are safer today after the arrest of Isidro Calderos Sotelo, a 41-year-old Mexican alien convicted of alien smuggling. So ICE Phoenix is committed to removing all public safety risk. Visit our site to learn more at ice.gov. So just reading this on a screen that's behind the camera, just to give you a little heads up on how we're operating here right now. But yeah, double checking X right now. Let's go to Truth Social as well. President Trump on Truth just posting what you just saw here if you've been watching, welcoming the Prime Minister of Armenia to the White House. So that just happened. And then the President of Azerbaijan just happened as well. Let's go to President Trump about 6 hours ago, I believe, 5 hours ago. The president said tariffs are having a huge positive impact on the stock market almost every day. New records are set. In addition, hundreds of billions of dollars are pouring into our country's coffers. If a radical left court ruled against us at this late date, an attempt to bring down or disturb the largest amount of money, wealth creation, and influence the USA has ever seen, it would be impossible to ever recover or pay back. We continue on by saying these massive sums of money, they should have done long ago. So to be honest, let me give you a real quick heads up here. First of all, shout out to our directors and our producers here at Right Side Broadcasting Network for putting up that specific post. So when I'm trying to read here, I think I either need to get contacts or there's just a lot of words all jumbled together. So if I stumble all over the place sometimes while I'm reading, that's why. So anyway, I can read it well. It just looks like a lot of stuff here. So let me get back to it. Let's read this Truth Social post in its entirety. And I'm going to bring this right to my attention right here so we can get it right. Again, as it's 3:41 Friday, August 8th. Hey, you want truth and transparency. What else can we get here? All right, so tariffs are having a huge positive impact on the stock market, the president says. Almost every day, new records are set. In addition, hundreds of billions of dollars are pouring into our country's coffers. If a radical left court ruled against us at this late date in an attempt to bring down or disturb the largest amount of money, wealth creation, and influence the USA has ever seen, it would be impossible to ever recover or pay back. These massive sums of money, the massive sums of money and honor. It would be 1929 all over again, a Great Depression. If they were going to rule against the wealth, strength, and power of America, they should have done so long ago at the beginning of the case, where our entire country, while never having a chance at this kind of greatness again, would not have been put into 1929-style jeopardy. There is no way America could recover from such a judicial tragedy, but I know our court system better than anyone. There is no one in history that has gone through the trials, tribulations, and uncertainties such as I, and absolutely terrible, but also amazingly beautiful things can happen. Our country deserves success and greatness, not turmoil, failure, and disgrace. God bless America. Whew, holy smokes, that was a good one to get through. That's President Trump 5 hours ago. Usually what I do is I would copy this and then paste it onto my notes on the iPad and then be able to see it in bigger letters on the other side of the screen. But since we are standing by right now, I didn't have time to do that. So that's why there you go. There's a little more inside baseball. Anyway, 3:43 Eastern time as we look live there at the White House. Again, we're awaiting the two leaders to meet there with the president in the Oval Office. As soon as we see that live feed, we will get kick-started and go there live. In the meantime, let's go to a video that we saw from earlier today as we started our broadcast at about 2 o'clock Eastern time. So let's go to an update from Secretary Scott Turner of HUD, Housing and Urban Development. Scott Turner, as many of you guys have seen at various cabinet meetings or other events, would always lead things in prayer. And President Trump always says, man, come on over and pray. I mean, he always does a great job just praying, of course, just that heartfelt prayer to God and to Jesus when it comes to the Christian faith. So let's go to that video as we await the President of the United States in the Oval Office. Again, as soon as we see it, we'll take you there live.
It really honors me to stand before you today to serve as your new HUD secretary. We have a housing crisis, a housing affordability crisis. We have to find long-term solutions. We are going after AFFH to restore the flexibility, the rulemaking authority back to localities. Here at HUD, our heart is for the American people. Our mission is to help the American people. $89 billion have been invested in opportunity zones, 1 million people lifted out of poverty.
One thing that's been encouraging to me is to see the resolve of the people. And I want to encourage everyone to hold on to that resolve and be unified together and working together.
The First Lady and her team and our team here at HUD have partnered to provide $25 million to the Foster Youth Independence Initiative. We're going to achieve great things at HUD. And y'all, I'm looking forward to great days ahead. Now let's go to work.
All right, let's go from HUD to the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency Administrator Lee Zeldin. He just wrapped up a 7-state EPA swing. Here's an update from the administrator about a few programs they recently cut, saving taxpayers $7 billion.
Hi, EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin here. The Trump EPA is proudly committed to fully following the law and being a great steward of your taxpayer dollars. Since being signed into law on Independence Day, EPA has been diligently working to implement President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill in accordance with congressional intent. The new law eliminates billions of green slush fund dollars by repealing the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, including a $7 billion program called Solar for All. One of the more shocking features of Solar for All was with regards to the massive dilution of the money, as many grants go through pass-through after pass-through after pass-through after pass-through, with all of the middlemen taking their own cut, at least 15% by conservative estimates. What a grift. Furthermore, the Biden-Harris administration exempted this program from the Build America, Buy America law that requires federal agencies to use American workers, American products, and American infrastructure for projects using American taxpayer dollars. That's great news for China, not so much for the USA. Lastly, while this program was stood up in 2024, very little money has actually been spent. Recipients are still very much in the early planning phase, not the building and construction process. But the bottom line again is this: EPA no longer has the authority to administer the program or the appropriated funds to keep this boondoggle alive. With clear language and intent from Congress in the One Big Beautiful Bill, EPA is taking action to end this program for good. We are committed to the rule of law and being a good steward of taxpayer dollars. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Okay, so we started out with HUD, then we went to the EPA. Now we can go to the
Department of Labor. So Secretary of Labor Lori Chavez DeRemer is on the road checking out how the workforce is doing. This time she's in Wyoming. Before we go to that, of course, we are following the breaking news. As NASA is also talking about this, we are saddened by the passing of Jim Lovell, commander of Apollo 13 and a 4-time space flight veteran. Lovell's life and work inspired millions. His courage under pressure helped forge our path to the moon and beyond, a journey that continues today. And again, this is Jim Lovell, who has passed away, I believe, at the age of 97. There's a photo that is on the NASA X page as well. So we may be able to get that up there for you in just a second. But let's go to, as we are waiting, the president's feed there where it comes to the live feed into the Oval Office. Let's go to another video as we take a look at the Secretary of Labor when it comes to the workforce in Wyoming. Take a look.
It's Lori here. I'm here in Kenmore, Wyoming to talk about coal mining. Thank you, Mr. President, for the 200 days of hard work that you've put in office and allowing us the latitude to get out and see America as we should to grow this economy. I'm on my 50-state tour for the Department of Labor. This is the 23rd state, and I couldn't be more honored to be here with the hard-working men and women of this country. So we're going to stay at it. We've got 27 states to go. Thank you again for the 200 days. We're here to celebrate the American worker.
All right, so welcome back here as it's 3:50. We are 10 minutes away from the top of the hour. Of course, the acting NASA administrator, Mr. Duffy, reflects on the legacy of astronaut Jim Lovell. So we're going to read some of that to you as you see some of the breaking news there. The following is a statement from acting NASA administrator Sean Duffy on the passing of famed Apollo astronaut Jim Lovell. He passed away August 7th in Lake Forest, Illinois. He was 97 years old. The quote reads as follows: NASA sends its condolences to the family of Captain Jim Lovell, whose life and work inspired millions of people across the decades. Jim's character and steadfast courage helped our nation reach the moon and turned a potential tragedy into a success from which we learned an enormous amount. We mourn his passing even as we celebrate his achievements. From a pair of pioneering Gemini missions to the successes of Apollo, Jim helped our nation forge a historic path in space that carries us forward to upcoming Artemis missions to the moon and beyond. As the command module pilot for Apollo 8, Jim and his crewmates became the first to lift off on a Saturn V rocket and orbit the moon, proving that the lunar landing was within our reach. As commander of the Apollo 13 mission, his calm strength under pressure helped return the crew safely to Earth and demonstrated the quick thinking and innovation that informed future NASA missions. I will continue to read from the NASA statement here and from Sean Duffy, again, as we're awaiting the president in the Oval Office. Jim Lovell, known for his wit, this unforgettable astronaut was nicknamed Smilin' Jim by his fellow astronauts because he was quick with a grin when he had a particularly funny comeback. Jim also served our country in the military and the Navy. Has lost a proud Academy graduate and test pilot. Jim Lovell embodied the bold resolve and optimism of both past and future explorers, and we will remember him always. For more information about his career, his NASA career, you can check that at the agency biography at nasa.gov/former-astronaut-James-A-Lovell. So that from headquarters in Washington when it comes to NASA. Now we're looking not at, of course, the Oval Office. We're there, I believe, at the stateroom there, as we are awaiting the two leaders from Azerbaijan and Armenia to meet with the President of the United States. So as soon as we see the President enter that room and the two leaders will take you there live for this event. I believe what we'll hear is the president speak, of course, first, and then the two leaders from the various countries will speak, and then maybe at that point is when they'll sign that trilateral agreement, which is a peace deal, which what we're seeing will be a peace deal. This is, again, from the Secretary of State Marco Rubio in an interview on EWTN earlier in the week. So that's what we believe will be signed today. And then after that, I believe the president will then take questions from the press. After that, most likely, it's Happy Friday, and we have a weekend ahead of us. We'll see what happens. If there's any breaking news, of course, though, we're here for you at the network. And you can always follow us on Truth Social and X and other places as well. As you're looking live there, is that the Secretary of State Marco Rubio standing right there? It looks like that is from this vantage point. Everyone wearing the lighter blue ties today. I guess I picked the right color to wear. I think the president's wearing that color. I think Marco Rubio's wearing that one. Anyway, so we're looking forward to seeing the leaders there in the White House. Again, is this the state dining room? Yes, the state dining room. Okay. I was thinking there, of course, of the Oval Office, but there's usually only one seat next to the president there at that fireplace, so not usually two seats there. So this is a great spot for this to have this event, of course. 3:54 Eastern Time, Friday, August 8th. Thanks again for streaming in since 2 o'clock. For those of you that have watched since 2, man, you're loyal, and thank you for doing so. And I know a lot of you have watched over the years since 2015. Can you believe it? Think about all those rallies on Saturday mornings, right? We would be covering live out there. And of course, that is Marco Rubio there, the Secretary of State. So, you know, we'd have all of our hosts. I've been out there before too, and it's just quite the experience to be out there live and just rolling with how it goes out there and talking to all of you out there that were at all of these rallies. I can remember so many here at the network since I started back in September of 2022. All right, so we are seeing two vantage points there. So obviously, just like yesterday, if you were watching our coverage, we were waiting the president for that Purple Heart ceremony, and that was a great event. So let's go there now.
Thank you very much. It's a great honor. Thank you. It's a long time, 35 years. They fought, and now they're friends, and they're going to be friends for a long time. But it's a big, beautiful honor to welcome everyone to the White House for this very historic peace summit between Armenia and Azerbaijan. It's really a great thrill for me. I love seeing good people get together, and that's what you have. You have two great leaders. I want to congratulate these two visionary people, Prime Minister Pashinyan and President Aliyev, for coming to Washington to sign this momentous joint declaration. It's a tremendously important document, and it's been a long time in coming. They were explaining before that so many times they thought they could get there. It never happened, just never happened. I also want to thank Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, and their teams at the State Department. And I see that we have Chris Wright outside and Senator Steve Daines sitting right here. Thank you, Chris. Thank you very much. And Steve, thank you very much. And we have some other wonderful dignitaries, including the dignitaries from your country. But they provided tremendous diplomatic assistance. And Marco, congratulations. It's a big thing. Keep going. He got many jobs. And then, of course, you would say Steve was quite influential. I call him Henry Kissinger, who doesn't leak. For more than 35 years, Armenia and Azerbaijan have fought a bitter conflict that resulted in tremendous suffering for both nations. They suffered gravely for so many years. Many tried to find a resolution, including the European Union. The Russians worked very hard on it, never happened. Sleepy Joe Biden tried, but you know what happened there? He tried for probably 12 minutes and didn't work out. And many other countries tried, and they were unsuccessful. But with this accord, we've finally succeeded in making peace, and we just left the Oval Office where we signed voluminous documents and very important elements to the agreement. The country of Armenia and Azerbaijan are committing to stop all fighting forever, open up commerce, travel, and diplomatic relations, and respect each other's sovereignty and territorial integrity, so importantly. And I just spent a lot of time with these two men. I think they're going to have a great relationship. You want to know the truth? They didn't see each other that much, but they probably will. I think they're going to have. I think you two are going to have a great relationship. I have no doubt. And if you don't, call me and I'll straighten it out. Okay. Very importantly, we have also resolved the key issue that foiled previous negotiations. This declaration establishes what they are calling a great honor for me. I didn't ask for this. The Trump route for international peace and prosperity, which is a special transit area that will allow Azerbaijan to get full access to its territory of Nakhchivan while fully respecting Armenia's sovereignty. So they're going to be able to really live and work together, and it's amazing. So that's a very important territory, I guess, very special territory to you, and now they work together. Armenia is also creating an exclusive partnership with the United States to develop this corridor, which could extend for up to 99 years. And then they promised in 99 years they'll extend it, right? You'll promise. But we anticipate significant infrastructure development by American companies. They're very anxious to go in to these two countries, and they're going to spend a lot of money, which will economically benefit all three of our nations. This is incredibly positive news for the future of the entire region, and it's a very important region, as you know. Additionally, the U.S. is signing a bilateral agreement with both countries to expand cooperation in energy, trade, and technology, including AI. And in terms of energy, Chris is here representing our country, and there's nobody better than Chris Wright. And Chris, I understand it's very fertile. It's a very fertile area. So I appreciate everything you've done. You've done amazingly well. We've got the gasoline prices coming way down from where they were, and it's really been something to watch. We are drilling like we haven't drilled in many years. I guess I could say ever before, and we just started. We're also lifting restrictions on defense cooperation between Azerbaijan and the United States of America. The president, that's a big deal. Is that important to you? I think so. That was pretty good. They're very happy about that. So am I. As president, my highest aspiration is to bring peace and stability to the world. Today's signing follows our success with India and Pakistan. They were going at it. They were going at it big, and they were great, two great leaders that came together just prior to what would have been a tremendous conflict, as you know, a nuclear conflict probably. Also the Congo and Rwanda. Now that was one which was going on for 31 years. You have them beat. 35 years you had them beat. But that was going on for 31 years, and we have it all done, and people are very happy. That was a rough one. That was nasty. 7 million people that they know of died. Also, just recently, Thailand and Cambodia, that was one that was just starting, that 2,000 people were dead on the border, but it was just starting. And I was talking to one of the two nations on trade, and I said, I'm not going to sign a trade deal if you guys are going to fight, and I got the other one. And again, great leadership, Thailand and Cambodia, and before it got started, beyond that first couple of days, we stopped the war. And they've had wars periodically, for as much as you two have had long-term wars, and we got it stopped. And the two, again, I find in all cases, they're great leaders. If they didn't agree, I would say they're lousy leaders, to be honest with you, but they did agree. And so Thailand and Cambodia, Serbia and Kosovo, we got something stopped that was ready to start. We didn't like that one. We didn't like it at all, and we saved a lot of lives. and numerous others. In addition, as you know, we took out the nuclear capability of Iran. And to use a term that people tried to dispute without any knowledge, it was obliterated. That's been confirmed by the Atomic Energy Commissions, everybody, that's totally obliterated. They might try again, but they're going to have to try a new site because they are, and I want to just say our military, we have the greatest military in the world. We have the greatest equipment and military manufacturing anywhere in the world, nobody even close. And that sort of proved it. So getting rid of that threat from the Middle East was very big. And I think a lot of people are going to be joining right now the Abraham Accords. It's going to be very important. So hopefully we're going to have many more successes. I hope we're not going to have too many more in this field because hopefully we're not going to be seeing too many more wars. But I came in and this whole world was on fire. All these things were sort of happening. We've only been here for 6 months. The world was on fire. We took care of just about every fire, and we're working on another one that you're reporting on very strongly with Russia, Ukraine, and we'll have some more information for you a little bit later. But I want to ask these two very special people. Again, I've gotten to know them. They're very special people, and I think they have the potential to have a great personal relationship, which is always good, but also a great just relationship. And if I might, may I ask you to say a few words, sir?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. First of all, thank you for invitation. It's a big honor to be invited by the President of the United States for this historic event. Actually, we are writing a new history in a bilateral interstate relationship between the United States and Azerbaijan. We are starting the path towards a strategic partnership. The Charter on Strategic Partnership will be elaborated within several months, and that is a historic achievement for Azerbaijan, because to be in the format of strategic partnership with the greatest country of the world is a great opportunity and also a very big responsibility. And this strategic partnership format embraces so many important areas: mutual investment, trade, energy, connectivity, transit, AI, defense sales, counterterrorism. So all these areas where we had and hopefully will have very active cooperation in the future. So it opens a lot of opportunities for Azerbaijan to continue its path of development, to diversify its economy, to keep unemployment low as it is today, and to look to the future with great optimism. Also, I'm very grateful to Mr. President that he today lifted the restrictions which have been imposed on Azerbaijan back in 1992, just only 1 year after Azerbaijan restored its independence. These restrictions have been imposed on us. So after 33 years, these restrictions have been lifted just today. So really, it's a day which will be remembered by the people of Azerbaijan with a feeling of pride and gratitude to President Trump for his attitude to Azerbaijan, for his vision, for not only for our region. We were exchanging views today, and I said that within several months he managed to put an end to conflicts in Asia, in Africa, and now in Southern Caucasus. What we could not achieve for more than 30 years. We had to sacrifice lives. We had to fight two very bad wars with a lot of casualties. And if not for President Trump and his team, and our great friend, Mr. Vitkov and his team, probably today, Armenia and Azerbaijan would have been again in this endless process of negotiations. So really, it's a historic day. We are today establishing peace in the Caucasus, which will open great opportunities not only for our region. And as President Trump correctly mentioned, the Trump route for international peace and prosperity, which will create new connectivity lines, which will lift the walls, and which will create connectivity opportunities for so many countries, with investments, with prosperity, with stability, You know, Azerbaijan and Armenia, we became independent at the same time as a result of the collapse of the Soviet Union. But at that time already, we were at war. So we lost a lot of years just being preoccupied with wars and occupation and bloodshed. So today, historic day, also because we bring peace. President Trump brings peace to Caucasus, and we're grateful for that. And I'm sure that Armenia and Azerbaijan will find courage and responsibility to reconcile, and also the people will reconcile. We will turn the page of standoff, confrontation, and bloodshed, and provide bright and safe future for our children. So I'm very happy because today we're writing the great new history. And once again, Mr. President, thank you for all what you are doing for us, for our region, and for the whole world. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Great leaders. How long have you been in the leadership position?
22 years.
22 years.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. That means he's tough and smart. And it's an amazing part of the world. Congratulations.
Thank
what
you.
a great honor to be involved.
Thank you very much.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen. Today we have reached a significant milestone in Armenia-Azerbaijan relations. We're laying a foundation to write a better story than the one we had in the past. This breakthrough would be simply not have been possible without President Trump's personal engagement and his resolute commitment to peace in our region. The initiating of peace agreement will pave the way to end the decades of conflict between our countries and open a new era based on the full respect for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of each other. Today's declarations, which President Trump personally will sign as well as witness, gives confidence and assurance that we are opening a chapter of peace, prosperity, security, and economic cooperation in the South Caucasus. In this context, allow me to highlight the agreement on opening transport communications in the region based on the principles of sovereignty, territorial integrity, and jurisdiction. I'm particularly thrilled that together with the U.S., Armenia will work to bring to life the TRIP, Trump Road for Peace and Prosperity, a connectivity project that will unlock the entire region. TRIP will unlock strategic economic opportunities that will create long-term benefits. It will promote infrastructure investment, enhance regional connectivity, and strengthen U.S. leadership as a champion of conflict resolution. I want to thank President Trump and his team for brokering this game-changing outcome between Armenia and Azerbaijan. This is a great deal we've achieved today. This is a success for our countries and for our region, and a success for the world, because a more peaceful region means a safer world. This is peace through strength in a neutral. Mr. President, today's great achievement is yet another testimony to your global leadership and your legacy as a statesman and a peacemaker on the world stage. Bringing peace required vision, political courage, and determination. But what is most important is that it requires faith in the cause. As it is said in the Holy Bible, blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. May God enlighten this way. Thank you, and my congratulations to all of us, President Aliyev, to you, to all of us, colleagues from Azerbaijan, Armenia, United States, and all the people of our region, all the people of our countries, and my congratulations to the world, because, as I said, it will definitely make world a better place. Thank you.
President of the United States, the President of the Republic of Azerbaijan, and the Prime Minister of the Republic of Armenia will now sign the joint declaration on the outcomes of the Trump Route for International Peace and Prosperity Summit.
That's really
They will
beautiful.
sign 3 copies in English. The President of the United States signs as a witness to the President of the Republic of Azerbaijan and the Prime Minister of the Republic of Armenia, affirming their path to peace, stability, and prosperity. We kindly ask that all guests remain seated for the signing of the documents.
That is so great. And we'll hold up. How about holding up that document? All right. Well, thank you. This is really a big day, and we have some other big announcements, but I didn't want to make them because I don't want to do anything that could even in a little way overshadow what's taken place today. 35 years of death and hatred, and now it's going to be love and respect and success together. And I didn't really want to do anything that would in any way overshadow. I don't think it can be overshadowed when you're at war and so many people have suffered and so many people have been killed, and now you're going to have great peace. And I look forward to that corridor, because that corridor sounds, I'm going to have to get over there. I'll bring Senator Daines with me, and we're going to have to get over there, Steve. So, but this is a really great achievement, and I congratulate you. You're 2 incredible leaders. You're going to go down in history. And I've read the whole thing about how long it took, and you thought you were there and people let you down, and sometimes you probably let people down. Maybe, I don't know how it works, but that's the way it usually does. But this is something that is very, very special. So I don't want to get in the way of it at all, but we'll take a few questions, maybe at least slightly related, but we have some other things to announce later on in the day. Peter, please.
Related, just because you mentioned the elusive peace in Ukraine. Who is holding up this Ukraine ceasefire summit? Is it Putin or is it Zelensky?
Well, I think it's that one is, as you know, we've been working on a lot of these deals. We've closed every single one of them all throughout the world, and that's the last of them. And they're losing, Peter, about 6, maybe even 7,000 soldiers every single week. Russia, as you know, lost almost 25,000 over the last month and a half, and Ukraine lost just a small number, fewer. It's a lot of people are dying, and I think we're getting very close. And we're going to be announcing later on. We're going to have a meeting with Russia. We'll start off with Russia, and we'll announce a location. I think the location will be a very popular one for a lot of reasons. But we'll be announcing that a little bit later. I just don't want to do it now because of the importance of what we just did.
And I completely understand that. Just a follow-up. Are you surprised that Zelensky hasn't figured out by now, in years of war, how to deal with you and to deal with Putin without needing permission to make concessions from his parliament or from a national referendum?
Well, he's going out and getting what he needs. You know, he's not authorized to do certain things. I said, well, you're going to have to get it fast because, you know, we're getting very close to a deal. And he's doing that, and he's working with the European nations, and they're terrific people, terrific leaders, NATO. And as you know, I became very friendly with them. They agreed to go from 2% to 5%, 2% that they didn't pay to 5% that they've already paid. It's trillions of dollars. So, you know, we're working together very closely. But no, in all fairness to President Zelensky, he's getting everything he needs to assuming we get something done. But I'll be meeting very shortly with President Putin. It would have been sooner, but I guess there's security arrangements that unfortunately people have to make. Otherwise, I'd do it much quicker. He would too. He'd like to meet as soon as possible. I agree with it. But we'll be announcing that very shortly, okay? And location. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, with this meeting with Putin, is this Russia's last chance to achieve peace? And do you expect Ukraine to make any type of territorial concession?
Yeah, I don't like using the term last chance. Look, it's, you know, look, this is two very, very smart people. They've been going at it and their predecessors also very smart. They've been going at it for 35 years. It's tough. And, you know, when those guns start going off, it's awfully tough to get them to stop. It really does. It's a war that should have never happened. It would have never happened if I were president. There was no reason for it. So many people are killed, so much cultural destruction. You look at those magnificent towers, the most beautiful in the world. You know, the spires were considered the most beautiful in the world. They're all in a million pieces, laying on the ground, all obliterated, knocked into a million pieces. So sad. But millions of people have died, and very, very much set in their ways. A lot of people were set in their ways, but I think we're getting close. I mean, this was not my war. This was Biden's war. But the European Union has been great. As you know, they're purchasing equipment from us. They have a lot of money. And they're spending a lot of money on buying equipment. We're not spending money, but we are supplying them equipment. They're paying for it. And I think, you know, that a lot of things happened recently that would make this go forward. I'm not going to mention anything having to do with India, but maybe that had an impact. But what really had an impact was NATO has stepped up in terms of their spending on buying military equipment. You know, we're in for, probably through Biden and his people, $350 billion. $350 billion. When they hear these numbers, you're saying that's a lot of money. $350 billion the United States has spent on that. It should have spent nothing because it should have never happened. It would have never happened. And Europe is in for over $100 billion, which is, it should be the opposite if we were in for anything, but it should be the opposite. And I will say that Europe wants to see peace. The European leaders want to see peace. President Putin, I believe, wants to see peace, and Zelensky wants to see peace. Now, President Zelensky has to get all of his everything he needs because he's going to have to get ready to sign something, and I think he is working hard to get that done.
Will Zelensky have to give up territory, Mr. President?
Well, you're looking at territory that's been fought over for 3.5 years with, you know, a lot of Russians have died, a lot of Ukrainians have died. So we're looking at that, but we're actually looking to get some back and some swapping. It's complicated. It's actually nothing easy. It's very complicated, but we're going to get some back. We're going to get some switched. There'll be some swapping of territories to the betterment of both. And but we'll be talking about that either later or tomorrow or whatever. Yeah, please. Say it.
If I could ask a question of your guests and also of you.
Yeah.
Of the guests, will the Armenians from Nagorno-Karabakh be allowed to return? And also, do you have any thoughts on the talk about President Trump winning the Nobel Peace Prize? And for President Trump, you're working on resolving 2 other major conflicts. In Gaza, you've spoke of resettling the Gazans. The country of Somaliland has expressed potential interest if you were to diplomatically recognize their independence. Are you inclined to do so? And also, did President Putin present an award to Mr. Witkoff during the recent visit?
He likes Mr. Witkoff, I can tell you that. That's true. Please, go ahead.
I think President Trump deserved to have a Nobel Peace Prize, and we will defend that, and we will promote for that, and that's obvious. So, and today's event, I think, is a very bright expression of that, and hopefully you will invite us to
front row. You'll be front row.
Yeah. We are in favor.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I have a suggestion?
Yes.
So maybe we agree with Prime Minister Pashinyan to send a joint appeal to Nobel Committee to award President Trump with the Nobel Peace Prize, because from the leaders of the countries which were at war for more than 3 decades, having this historic signature here, it really means a lot. This is tangible result of President Trump's leadership, and no one could have achieved that. There have been many presidents here since beginning of 90s, and the so-called Minsk process, which, by the way, today we put an end to with my Armenian colleague, started in 1992. So negotiation under the auspices of OSCE continued for more than 3 decades without any result. So who, if not President Trump, deserves the Nobel Peace Prize? I don't want to go into the history of some very strange decisions of the Nobel Peace Committee to award the prize for someone who didn't do anything at all. But President Trump in 6 months did miracle. So I think that my Armenian colleague will support it, and judging by the reaction of the audience, I think as soon as we come back, we will agree to issue a joint letter, and hopefully, and I also join when President is awarded, we hope that he will invite us to the ceremony.
You certainly will be. Thank you very much.
Do we have draft to sign now?
Well, we'll see what happens.
We already like to sign.
Thank you very much. It's very nice. We're looking into that right now. Good question, actually, and another complex one, as you know, but we're working on that right now. Somaliland.
Thank you so much. I wanted to ask you, have you spoken to Russian President Putin yet? And would you go to Russia or Ukraine? And what exactly would you say to him?
We'll be announcing a location in maybe a little while, and I think you'll be very happy. We'll see what happens, right? All we can do is do our best. We've been working on this one for a long time. This is a very complicated one also. This was extremely complicated, but we made it less complicated, and we had 2 very brilliant people on my right and my left. They understood what was at stake. I think if it didn't get done now, it might have never gotten done. So this is the same, very similar with Ukraine. It became more and more complicated as time went on. It was simple at the beginning. It wasn't going to happen. But it became more and more complicated. But I think we're getting close. Yes, ma'am. Yes, go ahead, please.
Could the location for the summit be Italy?
Location, Italy.
I will give it to you very soon. Honestly, I don't want to do anything. These guys, I don't want to do anything where that's like, because this is a bigger story than a location. A location's good. I'm a real estate person. I know about location. But there's nothing to compete with this in terms of what we're doing today. It's just such a great achievement for these 2. Really, they'll go down as great leaders for what they did. I put them together, but what they have been able, and I don't want to do anything. So we'll talk about it later. Today, we'll give you a location today.
You were talking about sending military forces to fight against the drug cartels in Latin America. Do you think it's worth sending our forces, our U.S. forces there to take this on?
Cartels where?
Central Latin America.
Well, Latin America's got a lot of cartels, and they've got a lot of drugs flowing. So, we want to protect our country. We have to protect our country. We haven't been doing it for 4 years, and we love this country like they love their countries. We have to protect our country. So, we're playing a tough game, but we'll have more to say about that soon. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. President, I'm Musala from Azerbaijan News Agency Report. So we are grateful to be here. Today you host a truly historic meeting. As a person who values diplomacy and global interaction, do you consider the possibility to visiting Azerbaijan? Actually, you mentioned Azerbaijan and Armenia after this meeting.
Well,
to visit our countries, do you consider to visit? Wow.
which one do I consider better?
Both, yes.
Both. Oh, I think if I ever said that you would say, this guy couldn't have solved the problem. You know what? I consider them both great, okay? And you know what? They're going to be even greater. But and they're very different in many ways, but they have a lot in common. But they're both great as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, please. It's an interesting question, right? That would have been a hell of an answer if I said, well, I think I like this one or that one. No, we don't do that. Go ahead, please.
Mr. President, first of all, thank you for bringing peace to South Caucasus, something that no one has been able to achieve in 35 years.
Thank you.
That's number one. We also noticed that you think highly of the commitments that the sides have taken on and assumed. However, considering the long history of conflict and the fact that this is not a legally binding document, will there be consequences if at some point one of the sides takes a step back?
I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be very good. And I told them, I gave them a personal commitment. If there's, there's always little problems here and there, right? The big ones have been solved. These are the giant ones have been solved. But if there's conflict, they both know they're going to call me and we're going to get it straightened out. They're not going to have a problem. Where are you from?
Armenia.
Okay, good. Very good. I was wondering. It was a very unusual question. But it's not unusual considering you're from Armenia. If there's a problem, we will get it worked out. I told them both, don't let the problem last. We get it early and we'll get it solved. Good reporter you have over there. Okay?
Can I
yes,
add?
Please.
Can I add? Yeah. First of all, I'd like to say that today we initialed the peace deal, which was in the process of negotiations for quite a while. The fact that it is initialed here, in the capital number one of the world, in the office number one of the world, and in front of the great President of the United States, means that there should be no doubts and no suspicions that any of the sides would step back. If any of us, Prime Minister Pashinyan or myself, had in mind to step back, we wouldn't have come here. So you can be absolutely sure, as well as Azerbaijani community, that what has happened today will result in peace, long-lasting peace, eternal peace in the Caucasus.
That's a very nice
I'm sorry. Fully agree and nothing to add.
That's very nice. Two statements, and that's a beautifully stated statement. Let's go. A couple of more. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, many in the South Caucasus have pinned the blame on your predecessor, Joe Biden, and his Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, for obstacles in America's bilateral relations with Azerbaijan and peace in that part of the world. How important is it to you to elevate your country's partnership and your administration's partnership with Azerbaijan, with Armenia, and how important is this for your legacy?
Well, to me, it's very important, but it's, I know the history of what was going on because I do a lot of reading, and they've been at a vicious, they've had a very contentious relationship for a long time. It's war. Most of the time was war. And so to get it done, they're great people. I know a lot of people from Armenia. I know a lot of people from both countries, and they're incredible people, and it shouldn't happen what has happened. I wish we could have been here sooner, if the election were different. I'm going to be nice today. I'm not going to be controversial and say the election was rigged. I would have had this thing solved 4 years sooner. But the truth is that's right. If the election weren't rigged, I would have been here 4 years sooner. We would have signed the same agreement 4 years sooner. But it didn't happen, and the Biden administration did really very little, actually nothing to get it done. But they did nothing to get really anything done. This country was in very serious shape. And I say it over and over again. I met all the leaders of NATO. I went, as you know, to the Middle East. I was with the King of Saudi Arabia, the leaders of great countries, right? Qatar and UAE and others in the Middle East, and everyone essentially said the same thing. We had a dead country 1 year ago. We had a dead country. Our country was dying. And now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. It's not even close. We have the hottest country in the world. And it's an honor to use that, if you call it power or respect or whatever it is, to settle wars like we have right here to my left and my right. And these two guys are very smart. I got to know them, and they're very smart. They're not going to, I don't think they're going to ever have to bother with me. They may call me just to bug me a little bit. Let me put them to a test, and they'll call because they like to call me. But they're not going to have any problem. We have a very comprehensive agreement. It's a peace agreement. And this isn't ceasefire. This isn't we'll hold off. This is a peace agreement. And they're going to end up doing a lot of business with each other. They're going to do a lot of business with the United States. And I'm going to always remember, at least during the time that I'm here, I'm going to remember how smart they were, how good they were. And when it comes to trade and other things, we're going to always go 100% out. We'll go out of our way to make sure it comes out good for them. They did an amazingly good thing and a very brave thing. It's a very complicated part of the world they come from, very tough part of the world. It's a tough, but smart part of the world. Smart, tough people, and great wealth, great energy wealth. I was talking to Chris, and you were saying in terms of wealth, it's enormous wealth. But wealth doesn't often solve problems. It takes other things. But they're amazing, two amazing leaders, and it's an honor to be associated with them. How about we'll do one more, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. Your gut instincts have always done well in terms of business and in terms of politics. What does your gut tell you as it relates to the possibility of an event like this in the next few weeks, the next few months, in which you have President Putin on one side and President Zelensky on your other side?
I think my instinct really tells me that we have a shot at it, okay? And you'll find that out later on, and maybe even today, but we have a shot at it. Look, it's got to be solved. We're not losing people. A lot of people say, why are you bothering? We're not losing people. We were spending hundreds of billions of dollars. Now we're spending nothing. We're spending no money. I guess we're making money because, we're great. We have the best military equipment in the world. We're selling it to NATO. But you're losing thousands of people a week, Russians and Ukrainians mostly soldiers, but, missiles are lobbed into cities and towns, Kiev, lots of places. You've been reading the same stories that I've been reading, and we got to get it solved.
The Norwegian Nobel Committee will make their announcement as it relates to this year's Nobel Peace Prize on October the 10th, Friday, October the 10th. Is that date circled on your calendar, Mr. President?
I can't say. I mean, a lot of people say, no matter what I did, because, I'm of a certain persuasion, no matter what I do, they won't give it. And I'm not politicking for it. I have a lot of people that are. I know. I mean, I read the same things as you do. But it would be a great honor, certainly. But I would never politic. I'm not doing it for that. I'm doing it because of, I really, number one, I want to save lives. That's why I'm involved so much with Ukraine and Russia. It's saving lives of Russians and Ukrainians. It's not American lives. Now, I would say this, that war could have escalated in something much better. That could have been a world war. I think if we didn't come, Ukraine-Russia would have ended up being a world war. And I stopped that. That stopped. Now, the only question is, when is it going to be settled? And it could be very soon, but when is it going to be? But that would have been a world war. If I didn't come along with a very talented group of people sitting largely right here, but there are others not in the room that are very talented, I think Russia, Ukraine would have had a very, very high degree, I think even probably would have ended up being in a world war. I don't think people talk about that now because they don't see it anymore, but we brought it down a long way. But that was getting to a point. When I first came in, I said, wow, this thing is really bad. And it could have escalated to a level that you people would have been very unhappy with. Yeah.
Your Your predecessor, Mr. President, President Ronald Reagan, had a phrase as it relates to dealing with the then Soviet Union and also Mikhail Gorbachev. The phrase was trust but verify. Do you subscribe to that same view as it relates to Mr. Putin and Russia?
Well, I do, relating to everybody. I mean, not just President Putin, but also people and leaders that I deal with. Look, I'm dealing with trade. And some of the worst deals we made, some of the worst trade deals we have. I talk about friend and foe, right? Friend and foe, two interesting words. Some of our worst trade deals were not with the foe, they were with the friends. Our friends were just killing us on trade. Not anymore. Not anymore. We're taking in trillions of dollars, and we're respected, and we're settling, through trade, even a little bit here, less here than on some, but through trade, I got things settled. With India, Pakistan, I think it was trade more than any other reason. That's how I got involved. I said, I don't want to be dealing with countries that are trying to blow up themselves and maybe the world. They're nuclear nations. That was a big one. Getting that one settled, I think you'd agree. That was a big one. And they were going at it. They were shooting airplanes out of the sky. 5 or 6 planes got shot down in their last little skirmish, and then it was going to escalate from there. That could have gotten to be very, very bad. Now, I want to save a lot of lives. I love saving lives. That's what it's about. And, when you save lives, you really end up having a peaceful world. Usually that ends up pretty well. I want to thank everybody, but in particular these two great leaders for having the courage to do what they did today, and they're going to go down in the history books. And it's a great honor to be involved. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain in your seats until the leaders have departed the room. Thank you.
Just witnessed a historic peace deal between Armenia and Azerbaijan. After more than 3 decades of conflict, it also sounds like there will be a meeting between Russian President Putin and Ukrainian President Zelensky at a neutral location. So President Trump saying he'll be meeting with Putin also in the near future, and that we'll know where that will be and when in an announcement. So the question at this hour, 4:41 Eastern on Friday, August 8th. Will this announcement the president is referring to later today be something he announces on camera, or will the announcement be via Truth Social? Either way, we'll monitor the situation. In the meantime, let's thank a number of our great sponsors on the network. And again, if we receive word in the next 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour that this is something that's going to be on camera, of course, we'll be here for it. But we never know. Maybe it'll be on Truth Social. We'll reach out, of course, to the Office of Communications at the White House, but also they're usually on top of things when it comes to letting us know about any announcements like this one when it comes to Russia and Ukraine. So again, we'll just monitor it just like you guys do. Every time you watch with us, we monitor what's going on out there and take you there live. So let's thank a few sponsors here before we close this broadcast. Again, you could always monitor us on Truth Social, on X, on Rumble, on YouTube, and all the notifications that you guys get when we're live. So you can always check that out as well to see if there is an announcement coming. And then maybe President Trump will maybe tee it up for media and in the sense of saying, hey, at this time there will be an announcement, saying that on Truth Social. Anyway, we'll see what happens. This RSBN live stream broadcast brought to you by All Family Pharmacy. Thank you guys for being a great sponsor here at the Right Side Broadcasting Network, callshe.com/RSBN as well. A great app there with more than 1 million users on that. AngelPaste.com out of Spring, Texas. Thank you guys for being a longtime sponsor here. Also, Cove Pure, a new sponsor at Right Side. Tap water or better tasting, healthy, good water, Cove Pier is where to go, of course. And then mypillow.com/RSBN, long time sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Free shipping sale still there. And if you'd like to donate to Right Side Broadcasting Network, we have 3 ways for you to do it. RSBnetwork.com/donate or text RSBN to 801-801. There are a number of you that send checks. I didn't know that. I found that out the other day, every month. So thank you guys again for being longtime supporters of the network. You can mail a check or cash to a P.O. Box. It's 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama, 36830. All right, it is 4:43 on the East Coast. My name is Matthew Alvarez. Thank you again for streaming in. Again, if we see something that comes down the pike when it comes to the president making any announcement that he was referring to, especially if it's on camera and it's within soon, or maybe, if it's on camera and it's tonight, guess what? It's going to be a Friday night. We're going to have to see each other again, but whatever. Stay tuned with us here at the network on all of our social media platforms. And for all of us at Right Side Broadcasting Network, I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll see you later.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.